Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching first part of What If Good Naruto Found Sasori's Secret Lab. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Betrayal, hatred, anger, sadness. Naruto was afflicted by those emotions throughout his entire life. He endured a life of hell for 4 years. Helpless. He didn't know why, but almost everyone in Konoha detested him, and there was nothing he could do. However, that changed on the day he traveled to Suna with the third Hokage and learned how to protect himself. It resulted in an obsession as well. Now, Naruto, who was only 4 years old, had no idea how he got here. He only recalls fleeing from a gang of irate kids who caught him conversing with a lone redhead that had sand controlling abilities. It felt like hours as he ran. Sprinting in the direction of the village's edge, he had fallen into a ravine in a tunnel after tripping over a big rock. He happened to stumble upon a door there. It appeared to have been sealed for years and featured an image of a red scorpion. He scowls as he pushes the door open, hurt and mad at those jerks. Later, he would avenge them. He notices another door at the end of a lengthy, dimly lit hallway. He moves in its direction. When he saw what was in the room, all he could say was, "Whoa." Body parts, tools, weapons, and scrolls were scattered everywhere. Strong wood was used to make the body parts. Confused, he scans his surroundings before spotting an old journal. It had a black cover with a red scorpion illustration on it, and it was resting on a small, shabby desk. Clearly, it had not been used for many years. He approaches it slowly and turns a few pages before noticing that there is only one message in the journal. Just a paragraph. He raises an eyebrow as he reads the message. "Sasori of the Red Sands is my name. You don't need to know anything else about me. My age is timeless. My abilities are unmatched. There will be no power like mine. I am the puppet master, the soon-to-be immortal killer of a cage. I have explored methods that everyone else has been afraid to use. As a taunt to you haughty Suna shinobi, I have left this room. I have left the means for someone to use the puppets in this room to strengthen their own, so it's inevitable that someone will find it. And you should be grateful for that, Suna." Not impressed by this small message from Sasori, Naruto smirks and drops the journal. "Unfortunately, I'm not from Suna, ignorant Sasori, Teme." He approaches and picks up a plain looking scroll. "I'll surpass even you in my greatness." He frowns as he reads the title and says, "Stuck-up bastard." Simple puppetry exercises. Raising an eyebrow, Naruto read on, intrigued by what he discovered. Sasori apparently used this room only for making his puppets and even during his training as a novice puppeteer, spending many hours reading through the room's scrolls. Now it would be Naruto's turn. As his interest increased, he discovered that controlling the puppet required the ability to make chakra strings and intricate finger movements. Beginner's instructions were at the bottom. He spent the next few days practicing the finger movements and chakra exercises required to make chakra strings, and even though he didn't seem to have any chakra control, it went smoothly. Once he had mastered the chakra string, he proceeded to learn how to become a puppeteer, which required him to learn how to attach the chakra strings to an object and make it move. This was much more challenging than making chakra strings, and he soon realized that if he wanted to achieve this, he needed to gain more control over his chakra. He spent 2 weeks honing this skill when it was discovered that another scroll contained instructions for a number of different chakra exercises. Totally unaware of the power he was giving himself, Naruto continued reading the scrolls on puppets, learning from the instructions left by an unidentified Suna shinobi. He had no idea why he had spent so much time learning the steps to learn the technique or what had driven him to do so. After 3 weeks, Naruto had managed to move an arm on the wall and shoot a volley of senbon, and he had even used the arm to hunt. He was making rapid progress, his abilities increasing daily. He smiles and opens his current scroll a little more, moving on to the next step. By the end of the 4th week, he was able to use his chakra to walk up and down the walls, quickly and efficiently create and attach chakra strings to the puppet parts and bring them to life, and even had a fairly good grasp of what movements moved what on the puppet. Creating your own puppet in step 20.2. After reading the instructions on how to use the various tools needed to assemble his own puppet, Naruto smiles again and looks around. He sees a variety of torsos, arms, legs, a few heads, a lot of different weapons, including a large zanbadu, and even some hair. He considers all of this, deciding on a torso that would be appropriate for a young teen, the large zanbadu, and a large ball of yellow hair. In the end, he decides on a torso that would fit a young teen, the large zanbadu, and a large ball of yellow hair. 2 months passed. Being covered in sand, dirt, and oil was by far the most difficult thing Naruto had ever done. Making a puppet required time and skill, and he spent the majority of the 2 months working on his custom puppet. He says to himself, "Hey, I hope Hokage Gigi isn't too worried about me," as he makes the last adjustments to his puppet. Naruto's rate of learning the techniques in the scrolls could be described as prodigious. His brain absorbed the information with ease and efficiency, as if something inside him gave him the right kind of deducing skills needed to learn quickly. He didn't focus on that, though, because he was reading another scroll while he tightened the joints and other parts on his puppet. It was a human anatomy scroll, and he wasn't really sure why a scroll like that would be in a room like this, but he reasoned that he might as well study it. "At last," says an excited Naruto as he finishes his puppet. It was a near-perfect replica of himself, only about 1.5 feet taller. He had the same blue eyes and wild yellow hair. He even had 6 whisker marks on his cheeks. His jaw was segmented so it could open wide enough for various projectiles such as kunai shuriken and senbon needles. The left forearm was a wide cylinder that held senbon and poison gas, while the left arm split in half and a spinning demon wind shuriken attached to a rod extended out. On its back was the large zanbadu and a long fox tail. The tail was segmented and covered in yellow hair. It was twice as long as the puppet is tall. It held shuriken, kunai and senbon, all dipped in a powerful poison he discovered near the back of the room. It was dressed in a tattered black cloak. That's all he had to work with at the moment, but he planned on changing that. He flexes his fingers and attaches the chakra strings to the puppet to test out his kill and its maneuverability. It immediately comes to life with various clicking sounds. Naruto moves his fingers a bit and the puppet slowly rises to its feet. He grins at his creation. He does a few test movements, causing the puppet to take a couple of steps forward. He smiles. Not bad for his first time. He pockets the anatomy scroll, says, "I'll call you Fox Naruto," and the puppet makes a few clicks. Naruto smiles and looks around the room. There was so much he still needed to learn. He knew that. He wanted to learn. He craved it. He walks over to the back of the room, his new puppet, Fox Naruto, taking clumsy steps toward him as Naruto continued to move his fingers and control it. Naruto scans the room and spots a pair of scrolls. He grabs them and looks at the titles. One was labeled "Storing Your Puppets in Seals," while the other was labeled "Forbidden." Intrigued, Naruto opens the seal scroll first. "Here are the instructions on storing your puppets," it read. Naruto looks down and there was a drawing of one seal. It was quite simple, really. It merely required a few complex designs and the kanji for what you were storing in that seal. Naruto grins and pockets the scroll. That would come in handy in the future. He then looks at the other scroll in his hand and frowns. Something that said "Forbidden" on it just didn't emanate a friendly aura. But it still. He said he was going to surpass Sasori, and that's what he intended to do. He could learn whatever was listed in this scroll. This forbidden scroll held the instructions to create a puppet made from a human corpse. In all of its gory detail, Naruto had never read anything so grotesque in his life. Hell, some of the treatment of the villagers weren't as gross as this. He continued to read, drinking in the info and subconsciously storing it within his mind. He learned that in order to create a human puppet he needed a lot of preservatives and a place to get rid of the organs. It was sick yet interesting at the same time. The more he read, the more he learned. For instance, he learned that a human puppet retains the abilities of the person used for the process. This included bloodline limits. He also learned that human puppets are a bit more durable than regular puppets. He pockets the scroll with a smile. He just might use this technique on some of his enemies. Naruto grabs a few more instruction scrolls and heads back toward the center of the room. Fox Naruto following. He looks around with a smile at all the leftover puppet parts, vials of liquid poison and tools. He grabs the tools, some of the jars of poisons and as much weapons as he could hold, and puts them in his backpack along with all the scrolls and instructions. He looks around the room one last time and smiles. It was nearly completely cleaned out and Naruto's backpack was stuffed beyond its limits. The red sands Sasori. As he leaves the room, he says, "Thank you very much. I promise to be the greatest puppet ninja ever." Following that, Naruto, Uzumaki and Fox depart from Sasori of the Red Sands' former laboratory and return to Suna to meet with Sarutobi. Change of scene. It had been almost 3 whole months since Naruto disappeared, and Sarutobi, the third Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, was in a panic. Naruto should have returned to Konoha 2 weeks ago. He knew Naruto must have gotten caught up in something, though, and he wasn't about to leave the blonde boy. He could still feel the joy radiating from the redhead, who seemed to be living a life very similar to Naruto's, especially after the young boy named Gaara told him that Naruto had been chased away by a group of mean kids because he had said hello to him and said his sand was cool. He spins around, gasping at what he sees when he hears a series of clicking behind him. "Naruto? May I ask?" he asks. "Hokage. Gigi, I'm right here. That's Fox Naruto." Turning to his left, Sarutobi sees none other than Uzumaki Naruto standing on a boulder in front of him, his clothes ripped and filthy, his eyes half closed, his arm outstretched, his fingers twitching and jerking, and he is grinning. He turns back to Fox Naruto and takes a close look at it, gasping a moment later. "Hokage. Gigi, like it? I made it myself, it was fantastic. I discovered this ancient puppet room and studied the scrolls within." Naruto makes his puppet jump over the Hokage and land beside him. It was unprecedented that Naruto had learned a Suna technique to this degree in just 3.5 months, and he had also made his own puppet, leaving Sarutobi stunned. Naruto iya, cool, huh? I now challenge any foolish villagers to play tricks on me. With a weary grin, Naruto jumps down to confront the Hokage. The two then proceed to Sunagakure's exit without saying anything more. The boy sighs sorrowfully and disappears in a whirlpool of sand, but neither of them sees the little reed head watching them from a tree with a sad smile. Skipping time. Since Sarutobi had sealed everything, including Fox Naruto, in that scroll for him, Naruto vowed to learn how to do the same. He told him that walking through the village with a bag full of puppet parts, weapons, poisons, and instruction scrolls would arouse the bloodlust of the already bloodthirsty villagers. So Naruto immediately ran home, a large scroll bouncing on his small back as he bound through the village. As he headed home, he ignored the hateful glares and jeers directed at him, his excitement taking the place of all his anger and resentment for the time being. For this one time only, he burst into his apartment room and drops the scroll to the ground. He bites his thumb and swipes the blood across the kanji for seal. A sizable burst of smoke and a large pile of everything he had taken from Sasori's room was in front of him. He grins and grabs Fox Naruto and places him in his chair. He then grabs all of the scrolls and puts them in a pile at the foot of his bed. Next are all the weapons. He had actually managed to stuff quite a few in his backpack before Sarutobi sealed them. 3 katanas, about 600 senbon needles, 80 shuriken, 100 kunai, 2 large demon wind shuriken, a pair of broad swords, a chain whip, a chain scythe, an extendable spear and 10 wicked curved daggers made up the pile. Next were the puppet pieces. There wasn't much, seeing as Naruto didn't want to be using Sasori's parts, but there were some essentials. 3 heads, 2 torsos and a set of arms and legs and 6 bottles of purple poison. He would make his own parts in the future. Last were the tools. The hammer, screwdrivers, the drills, the blowtorch. All the materials he would need to construct a puppet. Nearly everything. He would deal with the problem of needing additional tools and supplies later. He didn't have an answer yet, but he saw that scroll on human puppets as well. Should he do that? Make someone into a puppet? Well, worry about that some other time. I have training and work to do, with excitement, he thought. During the next 6 years, Naruto became a mystery, immersing himself in the puppeteer's studies and rarely leaving his apartment. He worked day and night to get stronger, and Sasori's message was taped to his wall, taunting him and forcing him to get stronger. He isolated himself from the society that so terribly mocked him. He never made another puppet, but he did make a number of different installations for Fox Naruto, and he became so adept at controlling the puppet that it seemed to have a life of its own. Naruto barely had to move anything to get the puppet to obey his commands. He spent countless hours reading through the scrolls, learning constantly, and it seemed the more he learned, the more possibilities that revealed themselves. The art of the puppeteer was truly a treasure to discover. His skill skyrocketed. By the end of his 2nd year he was able to control numerous items at once, one for every finger. This alone meant that Naruto could control Fox Naruto with a single finger. Over the years his apartment became a spitting image of Sasori's room. Homemade puppet parts, weapons and tools hung on nearly every inch of the wall. He took to growing herbs for his poisons and even had a little forge in his kitchen floor, and since he lived on the top floor no one really noticed any smoke. He ventured out every once in a while and stole whatever he could get his hands on. Food, clothing and materials fell to his chakra strings. Sarutobi had taught him numerous funin jutsu. This included the one that stored items into scrolls, something that the blonde was greatly happy for. Thinking that it would be useless to have all these weapons around and not be able to use them, Naruto also started studying them. He sparred with Fox Naruto to gain a reasonable understanding of them, and at the moment, his favorite weapon was the chain scythe. Every day, Naruto trained hard. He made some homemade weights and drew seals on them that could store chakra and used that to increase the weight holding him down. He also practiced his daily routines every morning, which included push-ups, punches, kicks, and hanging upside down from the ceiling using chakra. It was a messy, unconventional routine, but it was helping the boy learn a lot. He had to learn how to cook, clean, sew, and even do his own hair because he was always occupied. Another part of his training was learning about the human body. He never went a day without reading a little bit of that book, which was always with him. It gave him a great deal of knowledge, greatly aided his puppetry abilities, and provided him with the information he would need if he ever wanted to make a human puppet. No one had heard anything about Naruto for 6 years. They knew that he had withdrawn into his apartment, but they didn't really give a damn as long as the demon remained out of their line of sight. Until the 10th anniversary of Kyuubi's defeat, that is. That's when it all changed. Skipping time, 10-year-old Naruto Uzumaki was lost in his own world of human anatomy and puppet maintenance, tinkering with Fox Naruto's tail, which he had shortened after about 2 years, and drawing a few more weapons, storing seals, and performing his regular inspection of the joints, latches, and openings for the many contraptions hidden on the tail, just like any other knight. A crash. Bam. Naruto didn't have time to react when a brick smashed through his window and struck him in the head. His door was kicked in at the same moment, and roughly 20 villagers with sake bottles, knives, planks, and stones rushed into the room. 3 ninja, 2 chunin, and an Anbu also entered through the broken window. Naruto groaned, his head hurting and blood streaming from the crack in his skull. The variety of objects in the room causes the group to pause. "What kind of sick practices are you doing in here, demon?" asks the village chief. He throws a puppet head across the room after raising it. A woman winces. It appears that he was rehearsing for the moment when he truly chooses to indulge his bloodlust. "Well, we won't let that happen now, will we?" The 3 ninja and the villagers glare. Asks the Anbu in a female's voice. There was a loud cheer of, "Hell no." Fox Naruto is flung aside as they all charge forward at the still dazed and bewildered Naruto. With unrelenting yelling, the villagers mercilessly battered Naruto's prone form. It's time to complete what the 4th began, and, "You've lived long enough already. You believe that this apartment was safe for you?" Blood poured from almost every part of his body. Gashes and broken bones decorated his entire body. He passed out just as the beating stopped and he was hoisted up by his underarms. The attack lasted for what seemed like hours, and the boy, who for the most part still didn't know what was going on, could feel the pain, hear the taunts, and figure out how many there were, but he still didn't know how or when this attack had started. The thoughts of Naruto. With a sigh, Naruto stands up and surveys the area with a sad yet irate smile. "Where in hell did they dump me this time?" He observes that the ground was covered in murky water that was ankle deep, and he remarks as he takes in the pale yellow glow of his surroundings. "A scumbag. How creative." He deadpans as he starts to search for a way out. He turns a corner and heads down the hallway, but when he reaches another corner, he notices a red glow. As he turns the corner, he remarks, Must be sunrise." Naruto raises an eyebrow, but what he sees is not the glow of the rising sun, but a huge gate with a paper seal on the front of it, and the red glow coming from inside. "Hyuga." Naruto yells and jumps back as a pair of enormous red eyes suddenly open. Then a voice, terrible, deep, menacing, the voice of a creature that reveled in destruction, erupted from behind the bars. A massive fanged grin revealing itself in the darkness, accompanied by a deep growl so menacing that it almost makes the sewer walls fall apart. "So, you pitiful human boy, you finally arrived here. What do you want out of me?" Unable to speak, Naruto looks at the beast with wide eyes until a pair of enormous claws slams into the bars. "Mortal, answer me." Almost immediately, Naruto awakens, his eyes hardening as he looks at the beast with hatred and rage. "Pay attention. I have no idea who you are, and I don't give a damn. A bunch of blind Konoha bastards have beaten me and thrown me into this godforsaken sewer. Fucking around with you is not something I have time for. Tell me now how to leave this place immediately." After a few minutes of silence, the beast lets out a deep, rumbling laugh that reverberates throughout the yellow sewers. "Ha ha ha. My jailer must be you. I respect you, brave brat. Even though you're a brazen whelp." Naruto furrows his brow. "Jailer, beast, what are you talking about?" As he continues, the beast's smile widens. "It does not surprise me that you do not know. Humans are such basic beings. Maybe it's why I love eating their marrow so much. Boy, tell me. Regarding the Kyuubi no Kitsune, what do you know? Change of scene. As he strolled through the village, taking in the festivities, Sarutobi was feeling very happy and content because he didn't have to worry about paperwork today. He noticed that everyone was celebrating the defeat of the Kyuubi no Kitsune 10 years prior, which led him to another thought. He hoped the boy was okay, since Naruto Uzumaki hadn't visited him in a year, and he wouldn't know what was happening in the Konoha slums until the following day. Change of scene. Before an incredibly strong red chakra exploded from the boy's body and his eyes turned red and demonic, the female Anbu was grinning with her katana poised to strike 3 minutes ago. The villagers, shinobi, and residents of the apartment complex were all overcome by a fear they hadn't experienced in 10 years. What the devil is going on? The devil? It's getting away. A moment before the power cuts off and the boy glares with a hateful and contemptuous expression, the Chunin screams. All right, we must speak. Right now, Naruto tears out the villagers still, beating hard by jamming his clawed hand into his chest. The villager was foolish enough to keep him in place. You idiots saved this place by sealing the Kyuubi no Kitsune in my navel, and you still treat me like garbage. After the man passes away, the group as a whole begins frantically looking for a way out. If this is accurate, I'm a hero right here. I am the only one who can fend off the beast if the Kyuubi is really sealed inside my body. Naruto turns to face the door, where a few individuals were attempting to squeeze out, and he steps toward the group, who all back off except for the Anbu. He reaches up, fastens a chakra string to the door, and pulls it shut, trapping the occupants inside. And you bastards ignore that rule and make my life a living hell. By themselves. Alongside him. What's the reason? And it had better be the correct response. With a string of crimson chakra shooting out of his other hand and connecting with Fox Naruto, he turns to face the Anbu, tears starting to well up in his eyes. The Anbu jerks his finger, causing the puppet to draw its Zanbatsu, and he gasps as the puppet comes to life and glides over to its controller. We treat you the way you deserve to be treated, monster. We know what you really are. The fact that your eyes are like that is proof enough. That boy was dead the moment you took him over Kyuubi, says one of the villagers in response to his question, sneering as he moves forward. Without saying a word or making a small motion with his finger, Fox Naruto lunges and uses its Zanbatsu to cleave the man in half as Naruto's teary eyes harden. The puppet moved as fast as an elite Jonin, causing the Anbu to gasp. However, before she could think, the puppet's tail abruptly split into 4 sections, sending waves of kunai and senbon needles flying from it, killing half of the group and the 2 Chunin. Naruto has his puppet lunge once more, slicing and hacking the group of people apart with ease and brutality, and he displays no remorse. They made an attempt to flee. They attempted to yell. They didn't succeed. Their fate was sealed. Naruto looked down at the Anbu woman the whole time this was going on. He was crying uncontrollably. He remarks, "Wrong answer," as Naruto's puppet defeats the final villager. As the puppet returns to Naruto's side, the Anbu glares and grips her katana more tightly. Going to kill me next? Save the challenge for last? She inquires. Naruto's eyes normalize and he glares. Fox Naruto's chakra string turned blue as the red haze surrounding him dwindled into his seal. The puppet abruptly shoots a cloud of purple mist at the woman from its mouth as he twitches his finger. She breathed in the mist before she could react. What the? As he gets closer to the stumbling woman, Naruto speaks once more. His voice returned to normal. I will not kill you. This time. Without hesitation, he pulls out his own katana and lops off the woman's arm. She screams out, but by this point her senses are too confused to respond. Return to Hokage. Gigi and let him know that I am Naruto Uzumaki, puppet master of Konoha, jailer for the Kyuubi no Kitsune. My age is 10. My prowess will be unprecedented. My skill will be unrivaled. He reaches down and pulls the mask off the woman's face, exposing her long purple hair and stunning brown eyes. Tell Hokage Gigi that anyone who crosses me from now on will meet a terrible end and become one of my tools. The woman clutches the bloody stump of her arm as she looks up with blurred vision. Naruto picks up the woman's bridal gown and declares, after what has just been revealed to me, I will not put up with anyone's crap anymore. I am Naruto Uzumaki, and those who cross me will be turned into my tools. Then, holding the woman in his arms, he jumps out of his window. 2 days later, Sarutobi was sitting at his desk, on the edge of tears, watching through his crystal ball with the now armed woman as Naruto started to transform his potential attackers into human puppets. The woman asks, Hokage Sama, why? Why did he spare me? Sarutobi sighs and glares at the woman, I do not know Hyuga, especially since you should have been the first one he killed. Hyuga casts a shamed glance down. I know. You should have thought before you acted. You listened to those villagers far too much, and now an entire apartment complex worth of Konoha citizens has been lost. Hyuga lowers his head even more. I'm sorry. With a sigh, Sarutobi touches the woman's shoulder. I am not the one you should apologize to. Hyuga's eyes well up with tears. I'll find a way to let him know. I promise, Hokage. Sama. Sarutobi grinned. Good, and who knows? He may even return your arm someday. Hyuga returns to watching Naruto with a slight smile. Hokage. Sama, just where did he learn the puppet technique? With a smile, Sarutobi explains. I took him to Suna. He learned it there. I see is still a human puppets. Just who did he learn from? Sarutobi sighs as he looks into the ball. He learned from the leftover findings of an infamous former shinobi of Suna. Do you mean? Yes. Naruto Uzumaki stumbled upon the old training grounds of Sasori of the Red Sands. I only hope that Naruto do not emulate the man too much. Hyuga was only able to nod. The apartment complex reopened 5 months later. However, there was one significant distinction. The guardians of Naruto Uzumaki's now large home were no longer alive. Their skin was the color of stained wood, and they had segmented arms and legs. With the aid of a layer of chakra, storing seals, sensor seals, and security seals, they were able to control their many weapons with wooden hands incorporated into the structure at various locations. They were now Naruto's bodyguards, his instruments, his security dummy. Hey! Anyone who gets too close to this place now, better be on guard. Those seals pick up on chakra and ill intent. The second they get within 2 feet of this place, my puppets will attack. Smiling, Naruto collapses into his bed. Fox Naruto clicks a couple of times, then stops talking and falls to the ground. Naruto Uzumaki felt secure for the first time in a long time. As images of more powerful human puppets started to swirl in his head, he closed his eyes. I wonder if Sasori is still Olivia. If so, then he better be prepared for the day we meet. I might make him my tool if he isn't careful. As Naruto thinks this, he falls asleep. His 10-year-old mind was starting to develop an obsession. It never occurred to me that a living creature could be transformed into a lifeless tool. This brat is an interesting one. And he seems to want to make all of his worst adversaries into these instruments. Hee. Let's check to see if you succeed, boy. The Kyuubi then shuts his eyes and goes back to its protracted sleep. After Sarutobi disseminated the boy's message, a year passed with little incident. Almost no one dared to approach Naruto's house, and those who did were quickly taken down by his clever puppets and traps. Naruto's name became notorious in Konoha, and the council was furious at his audacity but soon realized they were powerless to stop him. Sarutobi had made it clear that Naruto would not be hurt, and his traps were dangerous enough to take out an Anbu. Both shinobi and civilians had tales to share about the notorious puppet house, as many. After that day, Naruto left his place even less than before, and not even Sarutobi had seen much of the boy. He found it sad that a village like Konoha could do that to a child. They came to call it that, using it to scare their children so that they would stay inside at night and cause a few people to wallow even more in their hatred. He was deeply hurt by it. Change of scene. Hyuga was on her daily patrol through Konoha, just like any other day, but she was lost in thought, as she had been ever since. She sighs and unconsciously touches the stump where her left arm used to be. The day she almost stabbed him with that sword, and the day he looked at her with those deep red demonic eyes that held more sadness and pain than any human she had ever seen, was when she realized her mistake. Or maybe it was when he spared her life and dropped her off at the hospital, taking only an arm as punishment. Naruto. Is he the person who grabbed your arm? With gentle eyes, Gecko Hayate asks, and Hyuga nods, a little taken aback that the man heard her. He's a young boy who has been done a great injustice. Hayate gives a nod. Isn't he that boy who plays puppets? The one that everyone is talking about? Yes. As they continue to walk, Hayate looks up thoughtfully for a few minutes, and after a few minutes of silence that made Hyuga a little impatient, he finally smiles and says, "Go see him." Hyuga comes dangerously close to tripping. What? I am unable to do that. Why not? Hayate asks. Hyuga glares at the man. There's a reason why the word, Naruto, is so notorious in Konoha. I refuse to put myself in danger of his traps. A little scowling, Hayate remarks, I think you're just scared to face him. What? You yourself told me. A year ago, Naruto took your arm. You also mentioned a significant injustice. I assume that your arm is missing because you participated in this injustice. This leads me to believe that you're terrified of his reaction if you ever apologize to him. Seeing that Hayate's deducting abilities were too good for his own damn well being, Hyuga mentally curses him. Alright. I'm scared to confront him. Naruto's distance from other people is well known. Hayate asserts, and he very well should be, but it's not just that, Hyuga says, nodding. At such a young age, Naruto has been compelled to turn to murder. He has no faith in anyone, and he collects puppets more quickly than he is able to listen. Everything is true. You're entirely correct, Hayate says. The man beside her interrupted Hyuga as she was about to say something else. But you forget one simple thing, Hyuga Uzuki. Oh, I see. What is that? Saved your life that day, Naruto, says Hayate, grinning and placing a hand on her shoulder. He must believe in you to some extent. Somewhere. With that, he takes off running. Change of scene. As he straightens his robes and heads down the hallway, Sarutobi sighs and says, I wasn't looking forward to this. No, I wasn't looking forward at all. The council had called for me a few minutes ago, and I already knew why. He goes to the door and pushes it open, and he sees the frozen, emotionless faces of every council member in the room, their eyes revealing their feelings, and Sarutobi doesn't like what he sees. Ah, Hokage. Sama, thank you for coming. Do you want coffee? Sarutobi takes a seat but declines the coffee, deciding to address the matter head on. Asks his former female teammate. I assume that Naruto is the reason you all called this meeting? May I ask? He asks. A rather attractive woman, about 40 years old, with jet black hair and a red kimono, was chuckling with one of the council members. Are we not impatient, my Hokage? Sama? Just answer the question, she asks, and Sarutobi gives her a sharp look. Hokage. Sama was all know how fond you are of that boy and we know how great his potential is, says a man seated to his left, snorting slightly before continuing. And, the Hokage says impatiently. We simply believe the boy is not stable enough to be permitted to live. We've seen Itachi and Orochimaru. We are unable to have another of those. As Sarutobi reached a conclusion, he could feel his anger growing, and it only got stronger after he was certain of his choice. We know you care for that boy despite his demon heritage, but he cannot be allowed to live. Smiling, Heishi Hyuga, the head of the Hyuga clan and a council member, rises to his feet. That is why we have come to a decision to eliminate the boy. Sarutobi's gaze enlarges. You dispatched killers? They give a nod. Not just any assassins, though. To combat him, Heishi Sama has dispatched a group of exceptionally skilled Hyugas. Nothing will pass in front of their eyes. Sarutobi was snarling by this point. The woman with the black hair says, they should be reaching their destination at this moment. Sarutobi strikes the table with his fist. You idiots! Are you aware of what you have done? The council flinches a little before erupting into a flurry of uncivilized shouting. Change of scene. They were all four of them, highly skilled, highly pumped for this job, but nothing in the entire shinobi world could have prepared them for this. No, Heishi had told them that the target's house was full of extremely dangerous traps, but they were left alone for an hour trying to enter the house and then trapped in the hallway for another half hour. They had been scraped and cut multiple times, and those human dolls moved with the speed and skill of some elite ninja. Poison gases tested their ability to hold their breath for minutes at a time, and they were exhausted, angry, and sweaty. This boy's trapping abilities were nearly unmatched, and it left them uneasy and on edge. To at least predict the springing of the traps Naruto had set, they pushed forward, Byakugans at full blast. Hell, they would have already perished if it weren't for Byakugan. When they finally reached the top floor and a door marked Uzumaki and push, it remained in place. Gosh! The leader snarls as he pushes once more, but it doesn't move. The four look at the door with their bloodline limits and observe that it is filled with chakra, a strange sight, but they didn't really see anything else. The leader pumps his own chakra into his palms and slams it into the door, saying, this kid's good, I'll give him that, but chakra-enforced items are useless against a Hyuga. What follows, however, makes the four understand why the door was so full of chakra. The door divides into four parts, swings inward, and about 20 metallic tentacles emerge from the opening and snatch up the Hyugas, pulling them into the void. They felt like they were being pulled deeper and deeper underground, past the first floor, past the second floor, and finally past the basement, until they were dropped into what appeared to be a large dojo. The four Hyugas, still shaken and confused, stood up and watched as the tentacles retreated back into the ceiling. They were about to ask where in the hell they were when someone spoke up. but it was a child's voice, and it was a voice devoid of feeling. To get this far, you guys must be pretty good, but you're dead now. I'm hoping Hokage. Gigi knows why. Before the floor, doors, and walls were covered in iron bars and a number of tubes protruded from the ceilings and started to spew green gas. The Hyugas all turned to face the source of the voice and gasped at what they saw. They were nearly instantly paralyzed after the gas hit them, leaving them with little time to do anything else. Naruto, wearing a special mask that prevented him from being affected, approaches the 4 downed Hyugas, trapping them. No one ever enters my place and survives. Unless they want to, that is. Then he swings his katana after drawing it, after half an hour. Hyuga stood in front of Naruto's house, trying to figure out how to get there without being attacked by his puppet guards. She had searched the entire area of the old apartment building, but was still unable to find a good way in, and she considered just going through the front door because it appeared that the traps there had already been set off, and there were even a few broken puppets. After a few more minutes, she takes a deep breath and makes the decision to approach the front door calmly. Bam! What the devil? Hyuga screams as the front door is abruptly blasted out, almost destroying her head. She had to bend all the way back to avoid the flying piece of wood, which caused her back to scream in protest. She stands back up and wipes some dust from her eyes. She turns her attention back to Naruto's front doorway and asks, what the hell was that? What she sees makes her gasp. Naruto appears in the doorway, his face expressionless. He wore his wild blonde hair in a ponytail that reached his waist. Hyuga observes that he has slightly increased in height. He had acquired the qualities of an experienced warrior, as evidenced by his deep blue eyes. Someone who has committed multiple murders, he had well-defined, coiled muscles. Able to act quickly when called upon. He was wearing an open orange jacket and loose, torn orange shorts. He had a battle chain wrapped around his waist multiple times and a bloody katana in his hand. For an 11-year-old boy, he appeared to be fairly attractive. As the boy passed her with a heavily slashed up dead Hyuga on his shoulders and his trademark puppet fox Naruto pulling 2 more bodies behind it by the feet, Hyuga could only stare in shock. Most notably, the puppet had changed. It was no longer upright, now it was crouched in a crouch, and it walked like the Kingdom Hearts 2 anti-form. Its hair was still bright yellow and the big Zanbatsu was still strapped to its back, but it now had clawed hands and red fox ears. It had 9 red tails instead of 1 yellow one, and it was wearing an orange and blue yakuta. At that moment, Hyuga couldn't help but think of the Kyuubi. Naruto says bluntly, assassins, as he walks past the Anbu woman. Without giving it any thought, she simply nods and lets him proceed in the direction of the Hokage tower. She was unable to speak. She was consumed by guilt for her role in shaping Naruto into the person he is today. He scared the living daylights out of the nearby villagers and vanished around a corner, leaving her with only one thing to say. Naruto. Change of scene. As Naruto walked past the Anbu woman, he gave her a fleeting acknowledgement. He needed to get to Hokage. Gigi and ask him why he was being targeted by assassins, among other things. He didn't give a damn. Especially considering the assassin's character. It simply meant a new, strong puppet. He dragged the bodies of 3 dead Hyugas behind him as he headed toward the Hokage tower, ignoring the shinobi's yells and the terrified cries of the villagers. Change of scene. There was utter chaos and disorder in the council room. They all erupted into a confused jumble of indignation and denial as soon as Sarutobi called them all idiots. Hokage. Sama. You can't possibly believe that the boy is capable of killing 4 highly trained Hyugas, shouts Heishi. I agree. No matter how good his traps may be, he still does not have the skill to take them on and win. The Byakugan can see through all. They'll be able to anticipate and avoid the freak's traps, and once they get to the boy itself, then they'll easily deal with him. Sarutobi lets out a sigh and replies, Naruto Uzumaki is not the type of person to slack off. Even before that incident a year ago, he was a determined, hard-working, intelligent boy. Naruto won't grow weak in other areas while his puppetry shoots through the roof. I can almost guarantee that his trap-setting abilities aren't the only things to improve over that time. He'll be evenly skilled in every aspect of combat. Another member of the council snorts. Even so, Hokage. Sama, those 4 Hyugas are at Anbu level. Even if the boy has improved, he still is no match for them. Hokage. Sama, you place too much faith in the boy. I cannot understand why it is that you even protect him anyway. Sarutobi lets out a sigh and starts to respond, but another council member cuts him off. Shikaku, the leader of the Nara clan. You are all too much trouble. I believe that we should have the same level of faith in this boy as Hokage. Sama does. I mean, Konoha wouldn't be here if the boy was actually a demon. What do you and your group of indolent assessors know about Nara? Doing as little as possible while sitting around. A woman with brown hair remarks, as if you would understand how things operate in a village that you consider too troublesome to handle. The scowling Shikaku utters, troublesome narrow-minded bitch. Why you goda? Before the woman could finish, one of the Anbu guards burst through the door, slammed into the wall across from her, and collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Everything stops when the main topic of their heated arguments, covered in blood and wearing his usual neutral expression, slowly enters the room with his puppet and 3 dead Hyugas. He drops the body he was carrying and has Fox Naruto drop the other 2 beside it. Naruto says, Hokage. Gigi, glancing directly at Sarutobi. Hiashi's eyes were as large as saucers, and the council was in disbelief. Sarutobi asks, what is it Naruto? As he stares directly into Naruto's icy blue eyes. As one of Fox Naruto's tails unwinds after striking the guard, the boy wipes the blood from his katana and sheaths it, pointing to the bodies and stating, I think these 3 belong to you. Sarutobi was only able to nod. And I kept the last one, Naruto says, glancing directly at Hiashi. I appreciate the gift. What the hell do you meant, brat? Hiashi yells, practically shattering the windows as he emerges from his shock. As he has Fox Naruto strap its own sword on its back, Naruto smiles, his eyes never leaving Hiashi's, a look that sent shivers down everyone's spines. I have gained a powerful new tool because of you in this council and I thank you for it. Then he walks away. Hold on, boy. Naruto pauses without turning around as the Hyuga head screams, what is it, Hyuga? Teme. You will return Yoshinoa now. Hiashi glares so fiercely that his Byakugan activates. Oh, so her name is Yoshino, Naruto says, looking up. Such a lovely woman with a lovely name. He then starts to leave once more, saying, I'll make sure to remember her name. Did you not hear me, boy? Naruto remains silent. Hiashi takes out a white kunai from inside his robes. You'll pay attention to your superior demon. Before anyone who wasn't opposed to Naruto could do anything, he throws it hard. The head of the Hyuga clan is stunned by what follows when Fox Naruto reaches up and grabs the kunai out of the air before disappearing and resurfacing in front of Hiashi with the kunai at his neck. I've gotten really good at controlling Fox Naruto. A chakra string is always fastened to him. The puppet presses the kunai a bit closer. I've grown so accustomed to this that Fox Naruto is like a sixth sense. Now, I only use instinct and reflex to control this puppet. An extremely strong defense. You will be killed if you attack me. Particularly if you undervalue me, Hyuga, Teme. He commands Fox Naruto to jump back to his side and release the stunned Hyuga. What about Yoshino? Chan. She passed away quickly. I promise you. He turns to go once more. Oh, and continuing to send assassins after me will only result in you losing Shinobi. I am no longer the defenseless boy you can mistreat, and I will kill without hesitation. As well as yours, should the need arise. He gives the elderly man a small smile. Goodbye Hokage. Gigi. N. Naruto Ueda. Naruto stops and looks at Sarutobi. Yes? I would like you to join the Ninja Academy again? What? The council yells. Looking up, Naruto says, I'll give it some thought. I have to go get Yoshino ready first. Sarutobi gives a nod. Sume, the leader of the Inuzuka clan, stops Naruto from leaving a third time. If it's okay with you, Uzumaki-san, may I ask how you killed those 4? Smiling, Naruto says, I trapped them in my training dojo where I gassed them with my paralyzing solution before I opened them up with my katana like a couple of cans of tuna. He then turns to face Sume. Then he rushes out, leaving a smirking Hokage and a room full of shocked village council members. Change of scene. As Naruto was returning home, he saw the Anbu woman again, walking toward the Hokage tower and looking thoughtful. This time, he looked at her more closely because, if he recalled correctly, she was staring at his house. His gaze finally settled on her purple hair, and he suddenly realized what she was doing. He says, You are that Anbu, and she snaps her head toward him. They look at each other for a full minute before Naruto turns and leaves because he had to make a new puppet and time was of the essence. On the other hand, Hyuga couldn't stop staring at him until he disappeared into his house. Her heart was hurting. She whispers, Naruto I'm sorry, and then her body flickers away. She didn't realize that Naruto was staring at her through one of his windows while wearing a special seal that enhances hearing over his ear. He was only trying to find out if she was trying to kill him, and he never expected to hear a sincere, heartfelt apology. He smiles a little and turns to face a jar that contained a perfectly conditioned arm and was covered in embalming fluid and preserving seals. His words, "Hey, perhaps sparing her life was a good thing," come as he dissects Yoshino's ribcage and removes the organs. "And perhaps I'll take Hokage Gigi up on his offer." Change of scene. Hiyoshi's red face and throbbing veins explode into Sarutobi's face. "Sama the Hokage. How could you be so disrespectful and allow that abomination to enter here after murdering 4 members of my clan? How could you have let him openly threaten us all?" "I concur, Hokage. Sama. The boy said he wouldn't think twice about attacking and killing us, and everyone here heard it. That ought to be subject to execution." The woman in the red kimono shouts. "If he does decide to kill you, it would be your damn fault." Inoichi, the head of the Yamanaka clan, sighs with Shikaku. "I concur. Ignorant people like you are the ones who harm the boy in this way. He is perfectly entitled to be himself." "What?" To get everyone's attention, Sarutobi clears his throat loudly, and then he speaks in a tone that is almost icy. "Naruto Uzumaki is a special case. In fact, it is true that he has threatened the council and anyone who wrongly opposes him. For that, I have no animosity toward him." Several people gasp. "You can all do as you please, but I'm warning you now. The Sarutobi clan and the Hokage himself are now formally protecting Naruto Uzumaki." "What? Hokage? Sama, enough. I made this choice. You've already done him enough. I act in this way for both his and Konoha's benefit. If no one stops this whole fucking mess, Naruto will kill you all." The council members who detested Naruto were limited to staring with wide eyes and stuttering unintelligible sentences. Inoichi, Sume, Shikaku, and Shuza, the leader of the Akamichi clan, get up and start to walk away. "Our clans are also protecting Naruto Uzumaki. We've determined that it's too damn annoying to waste time berating him for something that is beyond his control," Shikaku says. The woman in the red kimono chooses to say their final words as Heishi and the other council members start to frown. "You'll keep that demon safe?" the woman asks. "Always, it was the Yondaime's wish after all," Shuza explains. "Even as the boy uses his sick experiments to murder innocent people and turn them into his dolls?" Sarutobi's former teammate asks. "Naruto had it coming if he transforms someone into a puppet. Naruto has stated his intentions quite clearly. You don't have to worry if you leave him alone," Shikaku says. "I don't think so. I don't think that's true," Heishi says. Sume says, "Believe what you will," as she and the others leave the room. Sarutobi says, "Do whatever you want, but if you attack him and he is unable to defend himself, then you have 5 ninja clans to deal with," as he turns to face the other members of his council. He hides his smirk as he bows and leaves the room. Skipping time, 3 weeks later, Naruto was spotted strolling through the village with a new puppet in his place. This puppet was slimmer than Fox Naruto, stood proudly and arrogantly, and had long black hair with silver streaks that flowed freely in the wind. Yoshino, who was dressed in black and white robes and had a pair of stunning pale lavender blank eyes, was Naruto's first bloodline limit. Holding human puppet. Yoshino was a member of the prestigious Hyuga clan, the most powerful clan in Konoha, a clan whose bloodline limit the hidden cloud village sought after. Naruto says, "Now to get some instructions on the Jiyuken," as he and Yoshino jump to the balconies. "I can't have a useless tool after all." In order to protect herself from any potential attackers, he has her draw her kunai. Although the village is generally afraid of him, they are not cowards and would attack him at the first opportunity. With a look of resolve and sick excitement on his face, he was reading a book called Konoha's Bloodline Limits and making his way to the Hyuga compound. Sarutobi was sitting in his office grinning as he read the somewhat sloppy letter from Naruto, which was easy to read if you didn't look at the bloodstains and the tiny pieces of bone and wood. "Hokage. Gigi, I've given it some thought, and I've decided to accept your offer. I'll go back to the Ninja Academy, if only to learn a little more about ninjutsu and genjutsu, but know that if those ignorant teachers give me too much shit, I won't hesitate to behead them. I know that ninja are valuable in any shinobi village, but I refuse to put up with people's nonsense. Of course, Hokage. Gigi, I won't go kill everyone for the slightest. I doubt that there's anyone there that I could turn into a useful tool anyhow. I'll begin tomorrow. Sincerely, the greatest ninja puppeteer is Naruto Uzumaki. P.S. I will only answer to you if I do end up becoming a ninja for this village." As he reads the letter, Sarutobi laughs and realizes that he needs to remember to talk to the boy to prevent him from killing the teachers. He takes out a blank scroll and an ink brush and informs the academy that a new student is arriving, even though it is already a month late. He hopes that there won't be too many issues. Change of scene. The Hyuga clan was in an uproar. It had been 3 weeks since Naruto killed 4 Hyugas and had the nerve to make one of them his puppet. The council was not very happy to hear that part of Hiashi's report. Naruto Uzumaki had control of the Gyuken. He possessed the Byakugan. It was inconceivable to them. The whole clan soon heard about what Naruto had done. Some were quite impressed with the boy. He had taken out 4 very powerful main branch members of the Hyuga and made the bloodline limit more or less his own. However, as many as there were people who now respected Naruto, there were about 10 times more who hated him. Hiashi had banned anyone of the Hyuga clan from associating with him, and any who disobeyed his orders would be killed on the spot. The Hyuga council began searching for a powerful Hyuga in order to train he or she exclusively so they could kill Naruto. Hiashi had made a speech 2 hours long explaining to the entire clan that Naruto the Kyuubi monster incarnate was stealing bloodline limits and murdering innocent people. He even told them how the demon has brainwashed the Akamichi, the Inuzuka, the Nara, the Yamanaka and the Sarutobi clans. He had told them how they had to train 3 times as hard in order to do this demon in the future. He had the Hyuga clan on high alert that day. However, they were too preoccupied and afraid to notice 2 figures creeping toward the Hyuga scroll room. Naruto and his puppet Yoshino smirked as they walked up to the locked wooden door of the Hyuga scroll room. He says, this was too easy, as he disables the traps that, in his opinion, were fairly simple and line the door. He then picks the lock and enters. Scrolls littered the room. Naruto smiles. I was in the center of the Hyuga clan, with all of their secrets at his fingertips, and I was going to steal everything here. He takes out an empty storage scroll and starts drawing the required seals. What are you doing here, and who are you? With his hand on his battle chain, Naruto spins around and spots 2 Hyuga girls. One, who was about 8 years old, had long dark brown hair, wore a black Hyuga style training outfit, and her eyes were both intrigued and angry at the same time. Her face expressed very little emotion, while the other, who had short dark blue hair and appeared to be his age, was wearing a thick off-white jacket and black ninja pants, and she was looking away from him as though she was afraid. She had every reason to fear him. He smirks a little at this. The younger girl glares at him. Answer me or face the consequences. He mentally shrugs and stands up, almost laughing in this girl's face. Who was she to threaten him? Was she that good or just conceited? My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and this clan has something I need. The older girl's gasp was barely audible to Naruto. I see, the younger girl replies. What are you looking for? Are you trying to figure out how to get the most out of your puppet? This girl was smarter than a child her age should be. Naruto smirks. It is not the Byakugan that matters to Naruto. You realize that you won't be able to utilize the Byakugan, she says. I have to learn how to fight like the Gyuken and any other Hyuga. Your visual abilities are of no use to me. I see, says the younger girl, raising an eyebrow. You want to learn the Gyuken from Yoshino, but she's a puppet, so if the controller doesn't know the right movements, she can't perform the Gyuken. Naruto squats back down and proceeds to draw the seal on the scroll. Exactly, he says. Now if you have no more questions, I have little time. According to the girl, but there is still a couple of problems. Uzumaki. Looking up at her, Naruto asks, what are those? May I ask? He asks. If you can't use the Byakugan, you can't master the Gyuken. The girl smirks. You cannot see the chakra coils or the tenketsu if you do not possess the Byakugan. Looking up, Naruto says, I can learn the Gyuken's movements without seeing the tenketsu. Therefore, it is a pointless matter. The older girl was still looking down at her feet, nervously pressing her fingers together, and the younger girl sighed, said, fine, and turned to go. Hinata, come. In a firm yet tender voice, the younger girl says, Papa waits for us. Hinata nods and gives Naruto one final glance before turning to go, whispering, good luck, Naruto. Kun, to which Naruto replies, stunning the girl. With a final glance at Naruto, the younger girl says, 5 minutes, and then walks out the door. Hinata, come on, we must not be late, the younger girl says, poking her head back into the room. Hinata nods, her face red and full of shock. He wouldn't require that much time, Naruto smirks. Change of scene. Hanabi Hyuga was unsure of why she was allowing that boy to get away with his actions. Maybe it was a deep-seated respect after learning of his abilities, or maybe she was curious about whether or not he could actually learn how to use a Hyuga puppet in the art of Gyuken. She shrugs as she collapses into her bed, realizing that it was already past and that she needed to get ready for the chaos that would undoubtedly follow Naruto's actions. Perhaps she was just as distracted as usual, but Hanabi didn't really pay much attention anyhow, closing her eyes and sighing. Sometimes I wish I was not from such a prestigious clan. Change of scene. Smiling, Naruto enters his room and collapses onto his couch. He had just returned from the Hyuga scroll room and was feeling very contented. He didn't even need to kill anyone to keep them silent. He bites his thumb and opens his storage scroll, smearing the blood on the seal without saying a word and releasing a huge puff of smoke that reveals the contents of the Hyuga scroll room. Time to get to work, he tells himself as he opens the closest scroll, which briefly described the Hyuga clan and its beginnings. A minute later, he discards it because he wasn't particularly interested in the history of the Hyuga clan. He then opens another scroll and discovers that it is a family tree, which he also discards. After 5 hours, it was late evening, almost night, and Naruto was a little annoyed that none of the scrolls were helpful to him. He sighed and opened one of the 3 remaining ninjutsu scrolls, which contained 2 water techniques, a fire technique, and a flower technique. He set the scroll aside for later and smirked when he saw the labels on the final 2 scrolls. Jiyuken, or the Gentle Fist, is a Hyuga fighting style. At last, he says, closing the remaining scrolls. Change of scene. There was an alarm, people were screaming and panicking, saying things like, "They're gone." And they were frantically searching for an explanation for what the hell was happening. Someone has robbed us. It was chaos. Hiyoshi's eyes were bulging with an angry Byakugan, and he was on the verge of strangling anyone who got too close to him. Only 2 people knew the precise reason for the Hyuga clan's predicament. Hinata and Hanabi sat in their rooms, lost in their own thoughts about a certain blonde. She didn't know much about the boy, and he had completely disappeared from the academy about a year ago. Like everyone else, she was afraid of him a little, because he could kill and turn someone into a puppet with ease, and his eyes were dead to the world, void of all emotions and feeling, but also revealed a deep void of pain and sadness. Hinata sighs and whispers, "Naruto, Kuna." Since she had never heard of puppetry, Hanabi didn't think much of the puppet user. She was intrigued when she learned that he could transform people into puppets and was taken aback when she discovered him in the scroll room preparing to seal everything into a storage scroll, but she wasn't particularly bothered by his demeanor or his morbid style of ninjutsu. On the contrary, she was fascinated by it. She closes her eyes and another pair of distraught Hyugas rushes past her room. "Uzumaki, you interest me," she says. Change of scene. Naruto slams the Jiyuken scroll into the wall behind him and yells, "Bah! The Hyugas are all nothing but fucking talk." After examining that scroll for 2 hours and dissecting the fighting style and instructions, he reached a single conclusion. Hyugas are weak. After reading that scroll, he had learned that the only thing that gives the Hyugas any fighting power is the Jiyuken. The Byakugan and that. They relied too heavily on Byakugan and hardly ever used ninjutsu, genjutsu, or weapons in general. The Jiyuken only had 2 special attacks. Kaiten and the 8 trigrams 60. 4 palms, and they weren't particularly difficult to memorize. He sealed the scroll up after copying the instructions for these 2 attacks and the technique for using chakra to deal internal damage. On the other hand, the Hyuga ninjutsu scroll was at the foot of his bed. "If they don't want it, then I'll be glad to take it and use it for myself," he'd stated. Leaping out of his trap, rigged window and onto the ground below, he seizes the storage scroll. He says, the Hyugas can keep their useless junk, and turns to return to the Hyuga manor. Change of scene. Now that night had fallen, Hyuga remained seated in the same spot she had been in all day. At the Hokage Tower's summit, she was so absorbed in her thoughts that she had lost all awareness of the outside world. Her mind was still racing with images of Naruto. How could she go to him and say she was sorry? Particularly after all of this, now how could she confront him? Hell, even if she did find the strength to approach him, he would most likely just laugh and tell her to stop making such meaningless excuses. After all, it's not as though drastic emotional shifts like the one she experienced occur frequently. Naruto was, if anything, a bright but paranoid boy. He would ask questions before accepting her. He did spare her that day, though. But maybe it was just so she could give Hokage Sama his massage. That makes her cringe. Had he really only been forced to spare her? There were a lot of unresolved questions inside her. So much uncertainty. A great deal of fear. Uncertainty. Ignoring the distant blare of the security alarm at Hyuga Manor, she sighs and looks up at the moon. Unconsciously, her hand rested on her stump. She murmurs, "Uzumaki. Sana," and then shuts her eyes. "I have to apologize for the wrong I have done you." Skipping time. Sarutobi woke up the following morning to a scene of chaos. There was anarchy in the vicinity of the Hyuga compound. A sizable crowd was watching, jeering one opponent while applauding the other, and shouts, screams, and jutsus were heard throughout the village. He sighs at what he sees and practically flies over to the area. One of the villagers exclaims, "Yeah, Hokage. Sama is here to witness the demon's demise," but is dropped after a senbon jams into his neck. Thanks to a scowling Naruto who simultaneously avoids Hiashi's attack. Sneering, "Shut it, fool," he says. With chakra flying everywhere and Jiyuken strikes flying in all directions, Hiashi was attacking Naruto like a ferocious bat out of hell. Naruto was smirking at the head of the Hyuga clan and easily dodging his blows. The Hyuga yells, "Damn it, brat," as he makes another fast lunge. Naruto backhand springs away after ducking under the attack. Get that villager some medical help and ask, "What the hell is going on here?" Sarutobi shouts as Hiashi leaps forward. The Hyuga compound has been invaded by this tiny monstrosity, Hiashi shouts. Naruto shoves Hiashi back after punching him in the stomach, causing the man to grunt. "Stop bitching, Hyuga. To ensure there was no damage, I have returned everything." With newfound vigor, Hiashi charges and attacks, saying, "I'll kill you." His cries cause Sarutobi's eyes to enlarge. And with good reason, Naruto's expression instantly changes from a smirk to one of wrath and fury as soon as Hiashi mouths those words. "Better fighters than you have tried." He then leaps farther away from Hiashi, bites his thumb, and pulls back his sleeve to reveal a tattoo seal for Fox on his wrist. "All right, then." Sarutobi gasps as Fox, Naruto and the puppeteer both disappear simultaneously. "If you want to fight to the death over something so trivial, then so be it," he says, smearing his bleeding thumb across the seal before Fox Naruto emerges in all its 9-tailed Zanbatsu, wielding glory. Clang. Time seemed to freeze at this moment. Everyone who was watching this fight couldn't help but marvel at the boy's speed. It was near Jonin level. A cloud of dust had kicked up, but one could clearly hear 3 people breathing. When it clears, everyone gasps. Naruto and Fox Naruto were right in Hiashi's face, and Sarutobi's right hand was holding Naruto's left wrist, which was gripping the katana whose tip was poking Hiashi's neck enough to draw a bit of blood. Naruto's right hand was holding a senbon to Sarutobi's kidney, but the pinky was extended and controlling Fox Naruto. The Hokage had obviously intercepted the blow, which was aimed for Hiashi's ribcage. Luckily, Sarutobi was wearing protective ninja gear and was not stabbed by the poisonous needle. Sarutobi's left hand was holding a katana and intercepting Fox Naruto's Zanbatsu would have cleaved the Hyuga right down the center. But the last things that truly had Hiashi gripped by fear were the puppet's 9 tails. Each one was pointed directly at his chest, legs and stomach, and each tail had split open, revealing poison-drenched blades mere millimeters from impaling him. Naruto glares at Hiashi with malice and cold eyes. He does not let up on his sword, nor does he struggle against Sarutobi. He just stares at Hiashi's blank lavender orbs. "I promised to return your scrolls, Hyuga. Teme. If I wanted to make the most of Yoshino, I only needed to observe your fighting style." This makes Hiashi laugh for some reason. As if you could fully master the Hyuga style. A Byakugan on a puppet is useless, and you cannot use it. Naruto applies a little more pressure with his katana. "You and your clan are a group of arrogant, overconfident fools. I told the 2 girls as much yesterday. I can use the Jiyuken without the Byakugan. After learning the Jiyuken from Yoshino, I will enhance it. Go farther than you idiots could ever go. Peeved, go ahead and try demon." With a brief red flash in his eyes, Naruto says, "Oh, I will Hyuga. Teme, and once I do, I'll have you groveling at my feet begging me to show you my techniques." For a brief moment, Naruto tries to drive his blade deeper into Hiashi's neck while struggling against Sarutobi's arm. "Enough, Naruto. Stand down," Sarutobi says. He pauses for a moment, then says, "Sorry, Hokage. GG. But not for that Hyuga." Sarutobi raises an eyebrow, and Naruto smiles slightly and gestures to the hole close to Sarutobi's kidney. "Sorry for nearly stabbing you." He turns to go, but Hiashi interrupts, saying, "Tell me, boy, how it was you were able to counter me so easily." "I learned everything I know by reading scrolls," smirks Naruto. "It was easy enough to learn your one fighting style," he says, sealing Fox Naruto before jumping off. "Will you just let that monster go, Hokage? Sama?" yells a villager. "He's nothing but a dog." THWAK. With a kunai stuck in the back of his head, the man collapses to the ground. Sarutobi lets out a sigh. I advise you to go clean up, Haishi-san. At once, all of you villagers go back to your houses. The villagers remain silent as the Sarutobi body fades away, leaving behind a gasping branch house Hyuga of around 11 years old with a green seal on his forehead, a stunned Haishi, a gaping Hanabi, a few unconscious Hyugas, and a shivering Hinata. Haishi breaks out of his reverie and begins yelling commands. You there, get rid of that body. You rouse those idiots. You, and you. Check out the scroll room. Verify that Demon Boy was being honest. He then turns around and sees a frightened Hinata and a nervous-looking Hanabi. And you too. We must speak. Change of scene. There was a lot of talk in the village about the demon doll maker trying to kill Haishi and invading the Hyuga clan. As people avoided him, Naruto smirked to himself, knowing that he could return home without any problems or murders. He considered the time, realizing that he had only an hour to get to the ninja academy, and hoped that Hokage Gigi had warned them of his arrival. I wonder just how they'll react, he thought. He knew that ninjutsu and genjutsu were crucial to any ninja's career and that he was seriously lacking in those areas. Weapons, puppetry, seals, and taijutsu were all great, but without the other two, he felt incomplete, and Naruto hated that feeling because it made him feel weak. In addition, he knew that he would receive a lot of negative attention and that the teachers would be less than happy to teach him. When he finds two of his puppets' broken remains and two bloody trails leading inside his house, he sighs. When Naruto enters, he sighs upon seeing two dead Chunin with multiple poisoned senbon needles protruding from their backs and a young woman's puppet hovering over them, ready to hurl more. The two puppets they destroyed will have to be replaced. Some people never learn, he thought as he grabbed the two bodies. Change of scene. With a heavy sigh, Sarutobi takes another swig of sake. Naruto was a constant source of trouble. The boy did whatever he wanted, and the council was furious that he would not stop him. Sarutobi didn't fear Naruto, but he also didn't bother to mess with him because, in his view, it was the least he could do after the way Konoha had treated him. He takes another drink and rolls up a scroll before tying it to a messenger bird's leg. His words, almost forgot to send this to the academy, are somewhat derogatory. Change of scene. When Hyuga Ozuki heard a knock on her door while she was lounging in her house watching TV, she sighed and got up. She says, yeah, I'm coming, and opens the door. Hello Ozuki. San. Immediately, Hyuga glares. Danzo, what the devil do you want? With a sly smile, Danzo enters Hyuga's house, moves over, and settles into the couch. Is there any way to talk to your former captain, my Hyuga? I'll talk to you however I see fit, but why the devil are you here? Hyuga glares. Danzo smiles and responds, oh nothing really, I'm just here to talk to you about a certain blonde puppet using Jinchuriki. Naruto. Hyuga whispers as her eyes widen a little. Mr. Uzumaki Naruto, you're correct. The puppet of Konoha. Additionally, it's a damn good one. Konoha is my ass, Hyuga scoffs. Nobody in this village is served by Naruto. Danzo looks up and responds, perhaps you were right, but I did not come here to talk about who the Jinchuriki serves but whether, who he could be serving in the future. Please old man. Hyuga. Chan is real. I have seen Naruto's talent and unbounded potential. He needs to be brought under our control. With a laugh, Hyuga says, good luck with that. She touches the area where her left arm used to be, and Danzo smirks. Do you not recall that day? The day your arm was stolen by the Kyuubi vessel? Hyuga grumbles, that demon vessel's name is Naruto Uzumaki and you will address him as such while in my home. Danzo scowls a little. Alright, then. Didn't you change the day Naruto took your arm? What are you discussing? Hyuga was now growing irate. Your emotions came back that day, grins Danzo. What are you trying to say, old man? With a grin, Danzo stands up. I'll send my rude Anbu after him if you don't help me get the person you've become emotionally attached to. Even someone with his level of authority cannot defeat them all. He walks out of Hyuga's house. Hello, Hyuga. Chan. You've got until he's finished with the ninja academy. Hyuga's eyes widened as she stared at her door, where Danzo was. The threat kept repeating in her mind, and the worst part was that Danzo would follow through on it. Naruto was strong, no doubt about it, but even he couldn't withstand an all-out attack from the rude Anbu. I won't play by you rules Danzo, she thought. I have to find Naruto. After that, she leaves her house and heads for Naruto's house. An hour has been skipped. There was a lot of excitement and laughter in the classroom as the students from this year's academy talked to each other about the everyday happenings in their home village. They talked for about 20 minutes before two men, one with shoulder length silver hair, and the other with a darker skin tone and a scar across his nose, came in and told them to shut up. Both of their faces were gentle and kind, but they had a lot of authority in the classroom. Proud that Konoha was producing so many talented young ninja, Iruka and Mizuki gazed at the pupils, feeling privileged to be their teachers. All right, students, pay attention. We will be learning about the past of other shinobi villages today. The students groaned a little, but Mizuki put an end to it right away. Now, kids, don't worry, it's not as horrible as it seems. According to a young Inuzuka boy, "Sensei, you always say that," another boy shouts. "Yeah, what's up with that, also?" As the class erupts into protests, the two teachers' perspiration drops. Hey, listen up. This knowledge is also vital to being a ninja, so pay attention. After a few more minutes, the class becomes quieter. Now, as I was saying, the world consists of a tap, tap, tap. Iruka asks, what now? Which makes Mizuki laugh. Iruka walks to the window and tilts it open. One of the messenger birds swoops down on the desk. He takes the scroll from the bird's leg and opens it, saying, "It's from Hokage, Sama." "What are you saying, Sensei?" a young Akamichi asks. "Looks like we have a new student on his way here," Iruka says with a smile. He continues to read the scroll. It indicates that this new student needs to learn a little more about ninjutsu and genjutsu because they have been training alone for a while. "What is his name?" a girl with pink hair asks. Iruka continues reading before gasping and dropping the scroll. "Oh no, it's a..." He was about to finish when the classroom door opens and a fairly short blonde boy with 3 whisker marks on each cheek enters. His arms are crossed, his shirt and pants are bright orange, and he is carrying a katana, a spear, a battle chain, and a tattered blue open cloak. Upon seeing the boy, everyone in the room gives him a quick glance and recoils in a little panic. Only one person in the room had the guts to speak, a young Uchiha boy who appeared as emotionless as the blonde before the classroom. He says just 2 words, but they have the power to quickly destabilize the classroom because everyone knows what this boy is capable of. Uzumaki Naruto, the youthful Uchiha, declares. As he observed the terrified faces of the students in front of him, Naruto had to confess to himself that, although he had never taken pleasure in the fear of others or actively sought to frighten those who had not yet wronged him, it felt somewhat freeing. Naturally, a small number of people still bravely faced him without showing any signs of fear, and he had some respect for those 4. He was not particularly surprised by the Uchiha. The boy didn't fear him, of course. After all, he was a Uchiha, and they were just as conceited as the Hyugas. The boy appeared to be assessing Naruto by looking directly into his eyes. He is undoubtedly emphasized in the stories that are told about him. That makes him scoff a little. "On night in my home would scare his ass shitless." The boy from Nara came next. All of this clan's members made Naruto laugh. Despite being some of the most indolent people he had ever encountered, they were all extremely intelligent. This boy's half-closed, heartless eyes were still staring at him, saying, "Just let me sleep and I'll leave you alone." He turns to look at the boy seated at the rear of the room. His face was shielded by a high collar and sunglasses. He had long been fascinated by the Aburame clan. He took the time to watch the clan as its members went about their daily lives after reading a little about their skills in his book about Konoha's clans. He had been apprehended each time, so he was taken aback when they appeared to offer him advice on how to be more stealthy rather than viciously assaulting him. He was drawn to the last boy because he was looking at Naruto with interest and a hint of animosity. He has shoulder-length reddish, pink hair and tanned skin. His brown and green eyes were mismatched in color. He speaks while turning to face the 2 frozen teachers. "I'm sure Hokage Gigi has informed you of my arrival?" Iruka gives a cautious, slow nod. "Yes, we got the message just before you got here. I'd like to welcome you to our class, Naruto." Naruto smirks as the students start to whisper among themselves and shy away from him, and he nods slightly before approaching the class. "It's him. It's the boy with the puppet. I understand. They claim that even a group of Hyugas would not be able to survive attempting to break into his house because it is so full of dangerous traps." It's accurate. He transformed a Hyuga into one of his puppets, which is also true. Is allowing him here really a good idea? I mean, observe him. Let's just stay out of his way. I'm with you on that one. Naruto sat down beside the Uchiha and waited patiently for Iruka to start his lessons, grinning a little because at least the younger generation had enough common sense to avoid bothering him. Change of scene. Of all the times to virtually vanish off the face of the elemental nations, why did Naruto choose today of all days? Hyuga sighs in frustration as she jumps over another house. Danzo's threat hung over me like an ornament of dark mockery, she says, looking around almost frantically, worried for Naruto, even though a part of her told her she shouldn't be because this is the boy whose knowledge of poisons and trap setting skills border on Sannin level. Her words, Naruto, I have to find and warn you, come as she hits the ground in the middle of the marketplace. Well, what are you warning Naruto? When Hyuga turns around and notices that the Sarutobi is staring at her with an eyebrow raised, she bows and says, Hokage. Sama, I didn't expect to see you here, in a startled tone. Sarutobi laughs and responds, even I deserve a little downtime. What is this about Naruto? Then, Danzo of Rude is after him, Hyuga says, looking up. With a glance up, Sarutobi says, I see, well follow me, I know where he's at right now. With a sigh of relief, Hyuga heads to the ninja academy with her leader. Change of scene. Naruto felt let down. He was only interested in ninjutsu and genjutsu, which were not taught at the academy. He didn't really pay much attention because he was already familiar with the majority of Konoha's history and clans. Instead, he took out his book on human anatomy and began to read. His understanding of the human body was astounding. He could become a fantastic medical nin if he so desired. The students had just finished class and were leaving. The two teachers remained cautious around him, and rumors about him persisted. He didn't really listen to them. A year ago, he no longer cared what people thought of him. When Naruto turns around, the students' parents give him a hateful look. What is that monster doing here? A man yells. Get out of here, demon boy. With a sigh, Naruto stealthily extracts a senbon needle with a poisoned tip. When Naruto turns around, he sees that Sarutobi and an Anbu have just arrived. Enough? Leave Naruto alone or face punishment from the Hokage. Before retreating, the people give the puppeteer a fierce look and warn their kids not to approach him. After turning to face Sarutobi once more, Naruto says, thanks, but you know I didn't need your help. Sarutobi lets out a sigh. Yes I know, but I can't have you injuring people in front of their own children. Naruto grumbles. Like I care. Once more, Sarutobi sighs. In any case, I must share something significant with you. Here, Hyuga. Chan does, actually. Naruto raises an eyebrow in mild surprise as Hyuga takes off her mask and looks directly into his eyes at the mention of her name. The Uchiha and the tan-skinned boy flinch in the bushes as he says, okay then, follow me. There might be a few nosy eyes around that I don't want spying on us. Sarutobi puts his hand on his shoulder and nods, acknowledging that he knows who was there. Where to? He inquires, and Naruto responds with a grin, my place. After exchanging glances, Sarutobi and Hyuga disappear with Naruto. A minute later, they arrive at Naruto's house and must duck when two Chunin suddenly leap from the roof. Naruto makes a few finger gestures, and the puppets go back to their positions. I apologize, Anbu. San. Hyuga simply nods. Naruto walks up the stairs with Sarutobi and Hyuga right behind him, and when he reaches the door marked Uzumaki, he channels some chakra into it and pushes it open. Unlike the Hyugas, who were pulled down to his underground dojo by one of his many clever traps, the door simply opens, revealing a small apartment room decorated with puppet parts, tools, and jars of body parts. Hyuga and Sarutobi look around, horrified by the macabre surroundings of Naruto's house, which reminds him all too well of his former pupil. Pointing to the couch, he says, sit. When they do, Naruto collapses into a rocking chair, picks up a puppet's torso, and starts to play with it. Now, tell me what you wanted to say. After a minute, he asks. Naruto raises an eyebrow at her as Hyuga clears her throat and says, Uzumaki. San. She gathers her thoughts and goes on. Danzo of Root Anbu is after you. Scoffing, Naruto says, Root Anbu huh? Are you aware of them? A little, but not a lot, Naruto shrugs in response to Sarutobi's question. I have some knowledge of the Root Anbu because a few of the ninjas who have died here were once members of that group. They are ANBU's covert division. The more vicious people, and Danzo is their leader. Hyuga gives a nod, and this Danzo wants me under his control no doubt. Uzumaki. San, that's exactly what it is. I have been told by Danzo to persuade you to join his Anbu division or face elimination. Tell this Danzo that he is going to die, Naruto says, glaring at Hyuga after looking up. I only answered to Hokage. Gigi, he says, getting to his feet and staring her in the eye. No one threatens my life. Nobody else. Hyuga starts to say something else, but Sarutobi cuts her off. If this Danzo wants to control the Jinchuriki of Konoha so badly, he better come at me himself and try to force me. Don't undervalue Danzo, Naruto. He is strong. I don't undervalue anyone, Naruto says, nodding. Danzo will pass away on the day he sends his Anbu after me. How much time do I have? Hyuga says, until the day you graduate from the Ninja Academy. Naruto gets up and says, all right. He enters a back room where Sarutobi and Hyuga can hear a lot of clicking noises as well as the clinking of metal and weapons. Hyuga is about to ask Sarutobi what Naruto is doing when the blonde returns with a big bundle in his arms and looks at the two ninja in front of him as though he's surprised they're still there. What is that, Naruto? Asks Sarutobi. Naruto drops the bundle and causes Hyuga's eyes to widen. The bundle unravels and reveals a new puppet. This one was huge. At least 7 feet tall and had pitch black skin. It had the body of a very muscular man. One arm was covered in a huge gauntlet and a foot-thick giant clock's gear. The other arm wasn't connected to the body yet and still looked pretty normal. The upper half of its face was covered in a thick steel Roman-style helmet and snow-white hair sprouted from underneath the helmet. It was dressed in a tattered black kilt and a thick white sash that went from its left shoulder diagonally across the chest and around the right hip before coming back up across the back. A huge feathery black wing and 2 metallic tentacles were placed next to the puppet, and so were numerous canisters decorated with seals and kanji for different elements. He grins and returns to the room, returning a few minutes later carrying a shield that was twice as tall and as wide as the boy and a double-bladed battle axe that was also nearly twice as tall as he was. The shield was triangle-shaped and had a golden outline. The center was decorated with a golden fox head and the rest of the shield was black. The axe blade was black and the staff part was gold with a design of a nin-tailed fox lunging at something toward the blade. Perfect weapons for a warrior of this new puppet's stature. He drops the items next to the puppet and grins at Sarutobi and Hyuga. Introducing my newest puppet. It took 2 months to develop. A unique design by Uzumaki. Oni Tenshi, Demon Angel. Human puppets are not the only puppets I know how to make. Naruto smirked as he said, you say Danzo will come at me the day of my graduation? And he unsealed Fox Naruto to demonstrate his point. Sarutobi and Hyuga could only stare at him. All right, then. He kneels next to Oni Tenshi and picks up the large puppet's disengaged arm, saying, I'll use that time to prepare. Gigi. Hokage. Are there any people you know who could teach me genjutsu and ninjutsu? Sarutobi looks up, thinking of Sume, Inoichi, Shuza, and Shikaku, but before he can say anything, Hyuga interrupts. It would be better if I didn't end up killing someone. I would love to teach you Uzumaki-san. Even though he heard her apologize, Naruto still watches her critically because he doesn't carelessly betray his confidence. Furthermore, why would you want to instruct me in Anbu-san? I have taken your arm, aren't you? Hyuga nods slowly, and Naruto gets back up and walks over to the woman. He looks into her eyes, which are only 5 inches apart, and she quickly loses herself in them. They are the deepest blue she has ever seen. The eyes of a boy who has long since stopped caring about the world. The eyes of someone who has dealt with a soul-crushing sadness. She felt something build up inside of her, a deep feeling in her stomach, and all she wanted to do at that moment was to embrace Naruto and comfort him forever, but she refrained at the risk of being stuck in the neck by a poison-tipped senbon needle. Naruto, as if sensing Hyuga's feelings, looks up. What's your name? Even though I've seen you a few times, I don't know your name. I'll let you train me if you tell me Anbu-san. None of them had noticed that Sarutobi had smiled as he left. My name is Hyuga Azuki, Hyuga says, almost grinning joyfully and standing up. Hyuga bows deeply as she concludes, former member of Root Anbu. Instigator of the attack that changed you, a woman who is deeply and severely sorry for what she has done to you, Naruto. Anytime someone should be bowing to me is when they are either begging for mercy before I kill them or because I control them. Naruto has Hyuga stand back up, and he is a little taken aback to see that she is only about a foot taller than he is. I am not killing you and you are not under my control, he says, lifting her chin with his fingers as he approaches her once more and looking into her tear-filled eyes. Thus, Azuki-san, never bow to me. The way Naruto had said that sounded almost a no. It was definitely not that. Hyuga was at a loss for what to do. Thank you, Naruto. Naruto nods. I assume you need 2 hands to teach me ninjutsu, am I right? It's alright, Naruto, Hyuga says, nodding. We'll work things out. While grinning, Naruto says, I already have the solution to your problem. Naruto simply smirks and disappears into his bedroom, but Hyuga looks at him bewildered. A minute later, he returns with a jar, which is filled with yellow liquid and glowing with many preservative seals. Yugo's eyes widen as she realizes what the jar is preserving. My arma. Hyuga. San, you are right. I kept your arm the day I took it. Additionally, that is the reason you are still alive today. I saw your eyes the day I learned about the Kyuubi, asked that group of dumbass villagers, and started crying for the first time. Eyes of someone who had no animosity toward Maya, no feelings at all, actually. I believed you could turn your life around, so I let you live. Get your feelings back, because I lost mine. Hyuga lets out a gasp. I didn't want to kill you, so I spared you. That's how easy it is. I can reattach your arm in an hour, he says, lifting the jar toward her. Do you want me to do that? Naruto Uzumaki found himself in a bone-crushing hug from Hyuga Uzuki after Yugo's body moved without her permission and simply reacted. Change of scene. As the image fades from his crystal ball, Sarutobi smiles, thinking that things are finally starting to get better. He knew that Naruto would never be the same again, but at least someone was there for him. He hoped that Naruto would be prepared for Danzo, and maybe the 4 other shinobi clans on his side would get involved. He sighs and decides not to think about it for the time being, especially since he has a ton of paperwork to get signed. Change of scene. Danzo calls out, "Sai," and a moment later, a young man appears to vanish from the darkness. What can I do to help you? Sai asks in a tone devoid of emotion. I want you to keep an eye on one Naruto Uzumaki. The person who uses the puppet. Yes. He has a lot of promise. I'd like to watch him. Observe his whereabouts and confirm that Azuki is performing her duties. Are you even sure Azuki is going to cooperate? Sai asks after nodding. She had better know what's good for her, Danzo glares. Proceed now. Don't try to enter Uzumaki's house and don't get caught. Sai's eyebrow goes up. There are so many sophisticated traps in Uzumaki's house that they took our 4 well-trained Hyugas and many more over the last year, Danzo sighs. You will be killed if you enter his house. Drawings in ink or not. The bows are nodded by Sai. Now go. Sai says, Hi Danzo. Sama, and then disappears back into the darkness. Change of scene. Hyuga sat on the couch and watched in awe as Naruto practiced with Yoshino. The puppet was moving in patterns far more graceful than anyone alive could move. Naruto was a prodigy of the puppet technique, that much was obvious. His skills with weapons, taijutsu, and seal making were also very good. She flexed her left arm and smiled at Naruto, still not understanding how he was able to reattach it so well. She recalled that he had mentioned tiny chakra strings, but that was all. How is your arm feeling, Hyuga-san? Naruto asks abruptly. As he continues to practice with his puppet, Hyuga glances at the blonde and remarks, Naruto, it feels fantastic. I can now move it with ease at last. Are you ready to teach me? Asks Naruto, glancing at Hyuga. Despite Naruto's calm exterior, Hyuga could hear a hint of excitement in his voice, and she laughs inwardly. Of course Naruto. Whenever you are. After a brief pause, Naruto seals Yoshino into his arm and says, Hold on, before entering his room. A few seconds later, he reappears with the jutsu scroll he took from the Hyuga clan. There is a technique I wish to learn in this scroll, he says simply as he leaves. Hyuga follows the blonde and inquires about their destination. Naruto then proceeds down the hall and opens the stops at a door that is 4 doors away from his apartment. He opens it and enters, Hyuga close behind him. The sheer number of traps that Naruto had set up left Hyuga feeling a little uneasy because she had never seen such intricate, thought-out, and dangerous traps before, and when he opened a door marked, Dojo, he said, We're here. He then stepped in and signaled for Hyuga to follow, and she obeyed, widening her eyes at the sight. This dojo had everything needed for training, including weights, weapons, targets, a post, a number of open scrolls, a few books, and numerous instructions for various puppet techniques. Additionally, there was a small letter taped to the wall in the middle, Atani to Suna. Naruto turns to face Hyuga and asks, What do I need to know first? Change of scene. Sasuke Uchiha was a boy of principles, a boy of nobility, and he had the respect of the entire village. However, this Uzumaki Naruto was treading all over those beliefs. He gritted his teeth a little. Naruto was well known throughout Konoha, but not in a good way. His name made some villagers fearful and incited irate mobs in others. Sasuke felt a little jealous of this boy, who was a dead last student at the academy and was now strong enough to kill Hyuga Jonins with traps alone and turn them into puppets. He was stronger than him. Never. Change of scene. Suichi was an orphan, a boy of unknown origin, and his only family was his older sister, who had vanished a few years ago. He didn't like this Naruto at all. He acted as though he was superior to everyone else. Yes, he heard the stories and rumors, and he even heard some of the villagers refer to the boy as the Kyuubi. He didn't care, though, because he saw Naruto as a conceited little brat who needed to grow up. He huffs as he punches the training post for the 4th time, but his other concerns were getting stronger and eventually finding his sister. Change of scene. He had training to do. Maybe he would listen to what Thisa Naruto had said to Heishi and change the Jiyuken. Who knew? Maybe he could take it to new heights and defeat the Hyuga clan's fate. Neji Hyuga sat in his room and thought, never in my life had I seen someone fight a Hyuga so effortlessly, and yet this blonde boy a year younger than himself had completely humiliated the entire clan. Skipping time. When the doors opened at 10 o'clock at night, Hyuga and Naruto emerged. Hyuga smiles and hugs Naruto as he says, I thank you for today's lesson. I look forward to tomorrow. Naruto turns to face the Anbu woman. Every time she did it, he had to fight the urge to jam a kunai in her ribs, and now it was the 6th time. He would never get used to that. He questioned why she had become so loving all of a sudden. Maybe it was her way of thanking him for taking her apology and regaining her arm. He had no idea and didn't give a damn. I look forward to it as well, Naruto. Hyuga releases him and says, take care. Then she disappears. Grinning, Naruto makes his way to his apartment room. He laughs and says, I've been taking care since I could walk, before shutting his door. The fact that Hyuga was still there escaped his notice. Seated on his roof, grinning piteously. Her heart hurt. She was hurt by Naruto's behavior. Due to this village, due to her. Naruto. Change of scene. Danzo bowed as Sai appeared in front of him. All right. The elderly warhawk Anbu asks. I seem that Hyuga-san is growing attached to him, Sai says, clearing his throat before continuing. Danzo furrows his brow. Not only that, but it seems that she is training him in the arts of both ninjutsu and genjutsu. And Uzumaki really allowed her to approach him that closely? It appears so, Danzo. Sama. This is really fascinating, Danzo says, looking up and rubbing his chin. Is there anything else? Actually yes, says Sai, nodding. When Azuki embraced him, Uzumaki gave her back his arm and appeared unconcerned. Looking directly into Sai's eyes, Danzo asks, is the boy becoming softer? Absolutely not, sir. He simply has a little more faith in her. That raging desire is still present in Uzumaki's emotionless eyes. Danzo grinned. Well done. Don't stop watching him. On the day of his graduation exams, I will approach him and deliver my message. I will give you complete command of my troops if he declines. Murder him. Hi Danzo. Sama. Danzo dismisses the young soldier with a sly smile. Uzumaki. San, you'll accompany me if you know what's best for you. Turn into my instrument. Hehehehe. Hyuga, who is relieved that his puppets did not attack her, knocks on the door when she gets to Naruto's house the following day. Naruto himself had chosen to forego the academy on this particular day in order to gain more knowledge under the Anbu. Naruto says, enter, in his characteristically hollow voice. A second later, Hyuga gasps in compliance. The latest puppet created by Naruto was completed. Oni Tenshi is a puppet that is only a day old, but it already has the ability to make people who are lucky or unlucky enough to see it gasp. Naruto smirks as Hyuga staggers backward a little at the sight of the enormous figure, which she clearly hadn't anticipated. Naruto twitches a finger, and Oni Tenshi moves aside and makes a gesture with its arm. Come in, says Naruto after 10 seconds. Hyuga obeys. Her eyes still firmly locked on Naruto's newest creation. It stood 7 feet tall, had pitch black skin and snow-white hair. It wore a Roman-style helmet and was built like a very muscular man. All the same parts as the day before, only everything was connected. The puppet's left shoulder now had a massive black wing sprouting from it that arched up then folded like a bird's wing. The fold was 4 feet above the puppet's head. The huge axe was strapped to its back and the shield was connected to the right arm. The sash held a large brass knuckle and the left forearm's gauntlet and huge clock gear was painted in seals, and several forward-facing cylinders were connected all along the edges of the gear and were also decorated with assorted kanji. Onitenshi's last feature was the 2 metallic 20-foot-long tentacles that sprouted from right shoulder wrapped diagonally around the chest 2.5 times. Naruto notices Hyuga staring at his puppet and clears his throat to get his attention. When he says, "I know he is truly fascinating but we do not have time to waste," she recoils. "I'm sorry, Uzumaki-san. What would you like to start working on first, Gen or Nin?" "Teach me genjutsu first," Naruto says, his eyes glimmering with sick anticipation. "The first half of the year will be spent learning that, and the second half will be spent practicing ninjutsu." "Why genjutsu initially?" Naruto looks up and says, "It would be a very fulfilling feeling if I could make an enemy feel so scared just by looking at them. If I could use illusions alone to render my opponent completely immobile, I could kill them much more easily." Hyuga perspires a bit. "Alright, so let's get started, shall we?" "Of course Hyuga-san." The Anbu unit of Konoha would lose all track of Hyuga Azuki over the course of the next 2 weeks. Naruto went to the academy roughly 3 times a week, but aside from that, he had once again become a mystery. Danzo's root spy, Sai, would follow Naruto whenever he wasn't holed up in his house, and he discovered that the boy's already impressive chakra control was improving, though he still didn't know why. Danzo himself was wondering where the hell Hyuga had disappeared and sent a few of his subordinates to search her home, which was literally abandoned. Danzo came to 2 conclusions. Either Hyuga was killed by Naruto and thieves broke in and took all of her belongings, or... He stopped. Hyuga is at Uzumaki-sa. Hyuga was training Naruto when he makes this remark, and several of his subordinates notice and give him the same look of understanding that Danzo himself had begun to see. "That sex worker!" Danzo screams in a fury. Change of scene. Naruto's offer came as a complete surprise, and Hyuga was half asleep in one of Naruto's bedrooms when she sneezed. Everything she owned was still packed and in boxes, and the room was quite large. "It used to be a whole other apartment," she sighs. "Staying here to train me is more convenient for you," he had said. "Get everything you own and bring it here." This had of course stunned and caught her completely by surprise, but she reasoned with his thinking and realized it made perfect sense to have her staying with him for the time being. 1. No one could be inclined to stick their noses where it clearly should not be, and 2. The time wasted while Hyuga was heading to Naruto's place had been eliminated altogether, resulting in more training time. Naruto intended to make full use of the year he had. She sighs again. Naruto had been all she had been thinking about lately. It was kind of annoying actually. She was an Anbu, an elite ninja, yet here she was laying in the compound of the most feared and hated boy in Konoha who would kill an ignorant villager before he would ask questions, and she was thinking about him almost constantly. Ever since that semi-touching moment they had the day he returned her arm. She gets to her feet and heads down toward Naruto's dojo. He was probably training with Yoshino and Oni Tenshi down there, and she figured she might as well help him with his taijutsu. She makes her way down and approaches the door that led to the dojo. A crash. Bam. Hyuga leaps to the side as huge axe slams into the ground where she just was. Oni Tenshi, Fox, Naruto and Yoshino were attacking Naruto in a 3-on-1 battle. How Naruto was able to spar with his 3 puppets was still a mystery to her. The concentration it must have taken must be on par with a Sannin. She watches as Naruto draws his katana and leaps away from a Jiyuken strike from Yoshino. Then he ducks under a slash from Fox Naruto's Zanbatsu. They were moving at high Chunin level speed and only seemed to be getting faster. Hyuga could see 3 of Naruto's fingers twitching on the hand not holding the katana. Strings attached to the puppets. Naruto was a genius in this art. The fighting style was exclusive to Naruto and Naruto alone in Konoha. She doubted puppet masters in Suna had this level of skill. Suddenly Fox Naruto's tails split apart and the swords stick out from them. The spinning demon wind shuriken also extends from the puppet's arm and rolls out. Yoshino takes up a Jiyuken stance and Oni Tenshi straightens out. The large puppet hefts its shield in front of it, and the large axe rests on his shoulder, ready to slice at a moment's notice. Oni Tenshi's wing extends out to the left, and the 2 tentacles unwrap themselves from its chest and start dancing wildly to the right of him. Hyuga couldn't help but remark, truly a representative of its namesake. Naruto's head jerks toward her. "Will you teach me more genjutsu, Hyuga-san?" After a moment, he says. Hyuga nods and smiles. "We might as well since I'm here." Without saying a word, Naruto nods slightly and seals his puppets, and it was fascinating to watch the puppets appear to transform into mist and seep into the seal on his forearm. "Let's begin," he responds. "I still need to perfect the hell viewing technique." Hyuga was not an expert in genjutsu, but she knew enough to get Naruto moving in the right direction. If his inventive ideas about his puppets were any indication, he would only need a gentle prod in the right direction and be able to improvise from there, which is not a bad thing in his case. She looks around the dojo, which was dimly lit, and she wonders for a moment how he kept all of the security seals, pre-programmed chakra seals, and automatic attack puppets scattered throughout the complex, but she puts that thought aside. Hell, she should be wondering where the hell is he getting all of his resources. She shakes her head. It is none of her business, and she can only hope that one day he will trust her enough to tell her. Come on Naruto-san, let's begin. Time flew by. Hyuga knew only 5 genjutsus, but Naruto had taught them all in 2 months, mastered them in 2 more, and then began to improvise and make his own. She knew he would, which is why the other day she thought she was flying, complete with real wings. He dubbed it false freedom, and its purpose was to force you to unintentionally end your life. When Naruto used the high-level genjutsu known as the tree bind, Hyuga, who had been doing that a lot lately, embraced him in excitement, wondering how it made him feel. She had been most impressed by Naruto's development. He was thinking the same thing. Naruto. He had above average genjutsu and good creations, but he wasn't a genjutsu type person and couldn't bring them to the levels he obviously wanted. It seemed like a mental block was preventing him from perfecting genjutsu, but he would figure it out one day and remove that block. He closes his eyes and gets ready to sleep because tomorrow was the start of the ninjutsu training. Hyuga couldn't sleep. Thoughts of Naruto once again were plaguing her head. The boy was still a mystery to her. He was cold and showed no emotion. His demeanor was that of a hardened war veteran, and he opened his heart to no one save for Hokage Sama. The old leader had come to visit on several occasions over the last 6 months, and she noticed that Naruto became more relaxed around him. More like the 11-year-old boy he still was, but once Sarutobi was gone he returned to his usual self. Hyuga found herself wishing she could be one of those people he could relax around. She wanted to be one of the people who he could open his heart to return those hugs she so freely gave to him. She sighs and gets out of bed. She puts on a pair of slippers and quietly makes her way to Naruto's room. With the skill of the job she is trained to do, she slips into Naruto's room and approaches his bed. He was facing the other direction, asleep. She stares at his still form for a whole minute, barely noticing the puppets and the other traps ready to spring to life at the first wrong move. Naruto. She leans in and says. Naruto was awake, as he had been as soon as Hyuga left her room. He knew she was coming to his room and was ready, but he decided not to set off his traps because she was too close and could kill him. He was about to roll around and confront her when he heard her say his name in a tone he had never heard anyone use toward him. He wasn't sure what emotion was associated with this tone, but he knew it was sadness and regret with a hint of longing. When he feels a pair of thin arms gently encircle his torso and a pair of lips gently touch his cheek, he tenses up once more and his eyes widen. He can see the Anbu's purple hair spilling over into his face and feel the softness of her breasts against his back. Naruto, I want to see you smile. Alright. Naruto thought this was becoming too awkward. What in the world was this woman doing? I don't want you to be alone any longer, Naruto. I want you to stop feeling depressed. Naruto could feel Hyuga's silent sobs jerking through her body as she continued to hold him. She was definitely one in a million. Naruto inwardly commended her for no longer being an ignorant dumbass who thought he was the fox, but he was still wondering why the hell she was clinging all over him. After a few minutes, Naruto finally sighs and sits up, causing the woman to gasp. Naruto had to suppress a snort because his tears had dried long ago. How long have you been up, H? Holy crap. With a laugh, Naruto remarks, since before you even left your own room. As Hyuga frantically tries to put words together, Naruto smiles and says, Hyuga, while I appreciate your concern for me and am glad that you have an open mind, I'm going to have to ask you to return to your room. The woman lets out a loud cry and jumps away from Naruto, her face a very dark red. Hyuga's sputtering abruptly stops, and she chooses to look directly at Naruto, who looks into her eyes. All of this mushy stuff isn't me, Hyuga. I've decided that if I want to scare my enemies so that I can be left alone, I can't, no I won't let my heart open. Emotions are a pointless barrier that has always kept me weak and held me back. The only emotions that are useful to me are anger, indifference, and amusement at the expense of others. So stop trying to unlock the others inside of me, it's pointless. Hyuga was at his breaking point. She throws herself at Naruto and gives him a violent embrace. After clinging to the boy for 10 minutes, she lets go and looks into his eyes with her own streaked eyes. Naruto, I'm going to reawaken your happiness, your sadness. I want to be the one who can do that for you. With a sigh, Naruto pushes the woman away from him. I suggest you return to your room now, Hyuga-san. Hyuga lets out a sigh and walks away. Hyuga exits as the door opens for her. Hyuga gives Naruto one final glance as the door closes. She lets out another sigh. After 3 more minutes of staring at the location where Hyuga vanished, Naruto sighed and lay back on his bed. Shouting, "Foolish woman, skipping time." The following day went as usual, but this time Hyuga and Naruto were standing in the dojo facing one another, preparing to start ninjutsu training. He saw that Hyuga had a glint of resolve in her eyes as she gazed at him. Maybe coming up with a scheme to try and win his heart. As he flicks his wrist, a puppet emerges from a ceiling hole, moves toward Naruto, and gives him a scroll bearing the Hyuga clan's emblem. Naruto speaks before Hyuga can say how surprised she is. "That arrogant clan with the empty eyes is the one from whom I took this." He opens the scroll and states, "All of these have to do with flowers, whether it be their shape, name, or actual use." It turns out that they have become so conceited that they think they no longer need their clan ninjutsu. "I'll start by learning these." Hyuga looks at the scroll and nods. The scroll described 4 jutsus, the first 2 of which were water techniques and were named after a particular kind of flower. The water release of Fury of the Blue Rose, and Cry of Splitting Daisy. Then came the fire technique, the Dandelion's Tears. Lastly, the Cherry Blossom Dance was the flower release. There were no descriptions of the jutsus in the scroll, but she could understand why Naruto would want to learn Tama flower-style techniques were something she and everyone else, with the exception of the Hokage and the older members of the Hyuga clan, had never heard of before. She sighed at the haughtiness of the Hyugas and felt some sympathy for them. Because Naruto Uzumaki now possessed their secret jutsus. "All right, Naruto, which one comes first?" Naruto points while grinning. Change of scene. Young ninjas were picking up their regimens all over Konoha. Neji Hyuga had made the decision to change up his style and even agreed to learn another taijutsu style from his team sensei. The Jiyuken was becoming less and less common. He continued to use the fundamentals, like attacking the inner coils and tenketsu, but his style would frequently change. He began incorporating the Iron Fist, which his sensei was teaching him, along with other jutsus, into the Jiyuken, creating a style that would eventually destroy the Hyuga. Hanabi and Hinata had also stepped it up. Hanabi had first focused on getting Hinata to open up more and cast her insecurities to the wind. It was a difficult task, but 2 months after her encounter with Naruto she had succeeded. Hanabi had used Naruto as a sore spot on several occasions, saying to look at how strong he was because of his own confidence. She had said to Hinata that lack of confidence would get her killed. It took a whole lot of effort and time. Finally, though, after 2 months Hinata's stutter had vanished. She still was insecure, but she wasn't as sad as she was, and because of this they were finally able to begin their revised training. They too had heeded Naruto's words and were branching out in different directions. Hanabi had a goal, and it was to surpass Naruto in power. The puppet user interested her greatly, and she didn't want to be a weakling in front of him. Hinata, although scared of Naruto, still found his strength something to admire. She wanted to be like him. Strong, confident, and tolerant of no one. That was her goal. Those 3 could become a problem, and Heishi, who would watch them and put an end to their activities if they got out of control, watched from the shadows with glaring Byakugan eyes. Change of scene. Sasuke kept pushing his body to the limit. He had to get stronger, he had to get better, he studied all the scrolls and even started wearing weights. If he recalled correctly, Naruto also wore weights. He trained his body and mind to the limit and beyond. If he could be as strong as he is, then so could he. He would reach the level required to kill his brother. Now he was engaged in a strenuous chakra training exercise. He needed high reserves if he wanted power, right? Definitely. Especially if the person he wishes to surpass before he surpasses his brother was as strong as he is now and would only get stronger. Sasuke pants as he refocuses his concentrations on hanging upside down from the ceiling with a cinder block hanging off his wrists. Change of scene. In the forest, Suichi was surrounded by weapons and what appeared to be the claw marks of a large beast. He was panting heavily and carrying a large sitar, which was an odd instrument. It was shaped like a regular sitar but was black and much thinner than normal ones, and its base featured a white crescent moon shaped blade that curved perfectly with the shape of the base, giving it the appearance of a guillotine. Suichi puts the weapon in a case and straps it to his back. His training was finished for the time being. It was getting dark, and after 5 hours in the forest, he thought about Naruto. He had finally understood why Naruto acted the way he did, and he felt a little more respect for him, but he still didn't like him too much. Quiet, emotionless people simply didn't mesh well with his personality, so it was only natural for him to feel that way. For a moment, he wondered what his sister would have thought of him, which made him feel a little sad and determined. "I'll track you down. That's a commitment, skipping time." Naruto sighs as he wakes up to Hyuga hugging him affectionately once more. When will she stop this? Do you know what day it is today, Naruto? She asks, and Naruto glances around before noticing his calendar. Grinning, he gently pushes Hyuga away from him. It's the day I meet this Danzo and claim his head. Good luck, Naruto, Hyuga says, nodding and making her way to the door. Naruto gives a nod. Change of scene. He had been looking forward to this day for 6 whole months, and it had finally arrived. When Sai appears in front of Danzo, he smiles. Report. The 6 months are over, Sai says with a nod. As we speak, Uzumaki is on his way to the Ninja Academy. In exactly 60 minutes, at 3:30 p.m., the Genin exams will take place. Uzumaki will exit the southwest exit, go to the Hokage's office, and then return home after he has passed, based on his prior visits to the Ninja Academy. I understand. What about Azuki? She is still staying at Uzumaki's place. I will confront her myself. You speak with Uzumaki, Sai says, shaking his head. Danzo scowls. The plan is for all of us to go after Uzumaki. With an alien gleam in his eyes, Sai nods and looks up. But wouldn't it be wiser to kill Azuki before she meets up with Naruto should he refuse? Danzo grinned. Sai, you are indeed my greatest subordinate. Yes, go locate Hyuga and eliminate her. Hi. She shall not meet up with Uzumaki today, Sai says, nodding. Thank you, Sai, that is all. Sai says, understood, and then vanishes into the darkness. A moment later, 30 Root Anbu members are seen kneeling. You are all to follow me when the time comes. I will go to Uzumaki myself and offer him a position. If he refuses, you are to kill him, understood? Hi Danzo. Sama, was sung in unison before they disappeared. Now all we do now is wait a change of scene. After entering the classroom, Naruto moved to the back of the room and waited for his test turn in silence. Around him, the students were chatting animatedly about how they would become excellent ninjas for Konoha and make their parents proud, among other things. He laughs. These idiots would currently be orphans if their parents hadn't been smart enough to keep the ignorant people around him quiet. As the students continued to build confidence and anticipation, the conversation continued for an additional hour until Iruka and Mizuki finally entered. Good afternoon, class. Today is the day you've all been waiting for. Today is the day you all take the graduation exams. There were a few cheers and other happy shouts. Not the exam is quite simple really. All you have to do is make sure you can do the 3 academy jutsus efficiently, Iruka says, clearing his throat. There were a few happy whoops. Naruto lets out a few moans of disappointment and sheds a lot of perspiration. One by one, the students would leave the room with one of the teachers and return 5 minutes later, either hanging their bare foreheads in defeat or wearing a Konoha forehead protector in victory. Naruto was not particularly attentive. He wasn't feeling very joyful at the moment. 5 minutes later, he returns with a headband on, sighing as he watches Sasuke being called up. Naruto Uzumaki, Iruka utters. The young puppeteer is the center of the class's attention, and they all look at what he says next. Iruka. San, I guess I fail because I do not remember how to do the 3 academy jutsus. Iruka also has face vaults. What the hell do you mean by that? Naruto lets out a sigh. It means that I have been so focused on learning higher level jutsus that I forgot how to do these 3. Iruka lets out a sigh. At least try and remember, come on. With a sigh, Naruto stands up and follows Iruka to the room a few doors down in the classroom. When he gets there, he sees Mizuki in a table with several Konoha headbands on it. Without wasting any time, Iruka says, welcome Naruto. First, I'm going to ask you to do the replacement jutsu. Naruto collected some chakra and focused a little. When he finally succeeded in switching places with Mizuki, he was a little taken aback. Iruka grins. Good Naruto, now do the transformation jutsu. Naruto shrugs and changes into a reasonably accurate replica of Iruka without saying a word. The hair was still blonde, which was the only issue. Iruka scowls a little. Your henge needs work. Okay now, do the clone jutsu. Naruto draws more chakra and closes his eyes. Bunshin no jutsu, he exclaims after taking a deep breath. 6 puffs of smoke and 6 dead. Looking Naruto's appear. They were far from being good clones. After giving Naruto a pitying glance, Iruka says, I'm sorry, Naruto, but you fail. Naruto remains silent. He just turns to go, but not before listening to Mizuki. Iruka, that was a bit harsh. Why fail him when he obviously has the ability to be a great ninja? Iruka lets out a sigh. It's the will of the council. If he can't do the jutsus, then he fails. I would love to pass that boy. He has great potential. Naruto shrugs and adds Iruka, Hyuga, and Sarutobi to his list of people he does not need to kill, which now totals 3. He appreciated the teacher a little more because he could sense the sincerity of what he was doing. On the other hand, Mizuki disliked that man. When Naruto returned to the academy, the entire class looked at him in shock. Holy crap, he failed, the Inuzuka boy exclaims. The class erupted into boisterous conversation at that point. How the hell did that happen? With a frustrated sigh, Naruto leaves the building. He noticed an old swing as he crossed the little playground. Something that evoked some memories was now present. The early years of his life prior to that incident. When he was still helpless and frail, he closes his eyes and settles into the swing. He was happy to listen to everyone around him. Konoha had no interest in becoming a ninja. In any case, he wouldn't voluntarily serve under anyone. Sarutobi Gigi was the only one who deserved the privilege. It's likely that he would traumatize his teammates by poisoning his sensei and making him a puppet anyhow. At that thought, he smiles a little, and another one comes to mind. Maybe he ought to make more battle puppets. Having a personal army instead of merely a group of security personnel would be nice. In addition, he would have had to if his goal was to become the best puppeteer. He couldn't just pick anyone, though. They must have been strong if they were still living. They had to be as powerful as human puppets if they were his own inventions. He glances up thoughtfully. See that? It's that boy. I heard he failed. Good. Imagine if that thing became a ninja. I know. After all, he's Thea. Shush, we can't talk about that. Each woman collapses to the ground in agony as a pair of senbon needles suddenly jam into her legs. For now, their legs served no purpose. They gasp as they look up and see Naruto standing above them. One woman says, "H. Help the monster," but is interrupted when Naruto touches a nerve on her neck, thereby closing her voice box. The other woman remains silent out of fear. With cold, emotionless eyes that seem to be glimmering with rage, Naruto peers down at the women. He turns and leaves a group of terrified people behind, saying, "Those who cannot keep their mouths shut are always the first to die. Remember that so next time you'll know how to act around me." A root Anbu sat up in the tree and then disappeared, following Naruto. Skipping time, it was gloomy. Naruto had made the decision to go for a walk in the forest rather than return home. His reasoning was the only thing keeping him from removing the heads of those 2 women, who had enraged him. They were in the clear because they hadn't made any overt attempts to kill him. Furthermore, he wouldn't dare murder a woman in front of her kids. Later, he would do it in private. After all, he couldn't stand children who cried, and killing those 2 would have done just that. There was also a lot of fighting. Those women had been saved by his reasoning and the 2 children. However, they would perish if they spoke again. He was careful to convey that point. He noticed a lot of things in the forest as he was walking. 5 of them were located in various locations throughout the forest. A little further away, he surmised that the training of academy students was more intense than that of typical academy students. The high-level signatures that followed him came next. He thanked Hyuga in his mind for insisting that he train his ability to sense chakra signatures in front of the 30 people present. He was tense and prepared to fight at any time. Subsequently, 2 well-known chakra signatures clashed. He becomes a little more curious and goes in that direction. He finds himself in a rather odd situation. Mizuki and Iruka were engaged in a death duel. Iruka was attempting to take the big scroll that Mizuki was holding. Naruto concentrates on the scroll in an attempt to identify it. Iruka spoke at that moment. "Mizuki. I will not let you take away the scroll. I'll kill you if I have to." Mizuki smiles as he says, "Go ahead and try, Iruka. We both know that you're weak and near dead already. This scroll belongs to me now. With this scroll I'll become unstoppable." Then Naruto notices the scroll's title, Forbidden Jutsus. Although that scroll was known as the Forbidden Scroll, Naruto would have typically just watched Mizuki decapitate Iruka and walk away. Some of Konoha's most destructive jutsus were contained in the scroll. He also wanted to be the most destructive ninja. Naturally, he leapt down, used his foot to block Mizuki's charge, and grabbed the scroll out of his hands. Returning to his feet, Mizuki glares at Naruto as he examines the scroll. "Hey, give that back, brat, it's mine." He is ignored by Naruto. He just looks at the first jutsu after opening the scroll. Hokage Bunshin no Jutsu. Interesting. Naruto don't. Those jutsus are highly dangerous. They could kill you, Iruka responds. After shrugging, Naruto responds, "Staying in this village could kill me. yet I'm still here. He then practices the Kage Bunshin's hand sign. With a frown, Mizuki declares, I'll be taking that scroll and I'll kill you, monster. Naruto gives Mizuki a fierce look. He was not referred to as a monster. He says, ignorant Konoha dumbass, and then disappears. A moment later, Mizuki is slammed into a tree by a fist that buries itself in his stomach. Naruto draws a kunai while glaring into Mizuki's eyes. I'm getting tired of your mouth. I bet you want to know why everyone hates you, correct? Says Mizuki with a menacing smile. Naruto pauses. Iruka, don't, that's forbidden, Mizuki continues after meeting Naruto's eyes. He never gets to finish because Naruto, like the woman before him, had struck a nerve and closed his voice box. You want to know why they shun you, treat you like garbage and warn their children about you? It because Mizuki. Baka, you think I do already know why? You're a fool. Mizuki's gaze expands. It's because I'm a Jinchuriki, the holder of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Everybody should know that. I put it in my warning almost 2 years ago. He takes out a big scalpel knife and drives his kunai into Mizuki's throat. Naruto opens up Mizuki's rib cage and starts to literally dissect the man before Iruka could object. I don't know how useful you'll be as a tool, but I'll give you a try. Danzo makes a hand signal up in the trees. Okay, do it now. Hi. Iruka widens his eyes as 30 Root Anbu jump out of the trees and encircle Naruto, who just looks up and says, about time you fools showed yourselves. Iruka looks anxiously at Naruto, who is still working on Mizuki's corpse. Iruka-san, take the forbidden scroll back to Sarutobi-san, Danzo replies. We aren't here to attack him unless he is uncooperative, now leave, Danzo says. Iruka nods, at a loss for what to do, and jumps off with the scroll. Naruto now gives Danzo a glare, and Danzo comes up to him but tries to keep a safe distance. I have something to offer you, Uzumaki-san. Change of scene. A massive ink lion unexpectedly attacked Hyuga and her friend Hayate as they were strolling down the street. To avoid the civilians, they jump to the side and flee to one of the training grounds. They then turn to confront their adversary. Naruto was the age of the young man. He wore all black, had black hair, no emotions, and a somewhat pale complexion even in the dark. He was holding a scroll and an ink brush. According to Hayate, who is this kid? With an angry expression, Hyuga states, his name is Sai of Root Anbu. Sai responds with a nod, that's right, and for failing to follow Danzo Sama's instructions you are to be put to death. A moment later, Sai's scroll exploded into a massive ink dragon. After taking his arms off of Mizuki's chest, Naruto turns to face Danzo. He asks, an offer you say? Danzo nods and grins slightly. Naruto glances up thoughtfully. Plans for an attack were already taking shape in his mind. And what make you think I'll join your little group of lapdogs? Danzo grins a little wider and makes hand gestures. The boy is surrounded by the 30 Anbu subordinates who assume combat stances. Naruto-san, it would be wise for you to join me, we wouldn't want Anya unfortunate accidents. Naruto gives a scowl. Danzo-san, that is the second time you have placed a threat upon me. I think it's time for me to show you what that means. With an even bigger grin, Danzo declares, it is not wise to threaten me, let alone think you can attack me. Naruto laughs. That fool back there is a prime example, Naruto remarks, gesturing to Mizuki's disfigured body. Many have said that and all have died. A few of Danzo's soldiers wince. Danzo's eyes narrow. Root is on a whole other level than that fool. Naruto glances up thoughtfully. Still, it does not matter to me. I am not an idiot and I refuse to be used for your own selfish gains. I know your type. You see me as a weapon that needs to be controlled or discarded. I am no mere object fool. I have a will of my own. So I'm taking it you refuse to join me. Naruto laughs. What was your first clue, old man? No, I won't be joining your little organization for one reason. He starts flipping through hand signs after dropping his scalpel. Danzo, although joining your group would benefit me greatly and I could easily obtain more strength, you and you little lapdogs have threatened my life. No one does that and lives to brag to the whole world about it, and that my dear old man is something that takes more precedence than gaining more power. I will put up with no one's crap above all other issues, be it offers of power, protection, or any other. That is my way. Danzo gives a scowl. And besides, I am not a ninja. I failed the graduation exam and therefore cannot join Root Anbu without permission from Hokage. GG. At that moment, Danzo realized in disbelief what Naruto was doing with his hand signals. He screams, clear the area, but it's too late. Fire releasa. Naruto slams his hands into the ground and utters in an emotionless voice as a tremendous amount of chakra bursts off of him and spirals upward. Change of scene. There was a commotion in Konoha village. The populace had assembled and stood ready for combat in front of Sarutobi. Iruka returned with the stolen scroll, and word quickly spread. Furthermore, the announcement of Naruto's arrival had infuriated the populace. Now that the boy was away from home, they were happy to have the opportunity to murder him. They anxiously awaited Sarutobi's command to pursue the boy. They had their adrenaline pumping and their weapons drawn. To attract everyone's attention, Sarutobi clears his throat. However, he does not receive silence. They were astonished gasps. A terrified villager points to something behind Sarutobi and exclaims, "W. What the hell is that?" The elderly Hokage furrows his brow. "What are you all pointing at?" He gasps as he turns around. "No way, Heishi isn't going to be happy," was all he could think to say as a massive orange flaming dandelion erupted from the towers and trees above, some half a mile away. The villagers could only watch in wonder as it started to rain fireballs down on the surrounding area because they were so enthralled with the beauty of the flaming flower. Without a doubt, whoever was hitting was a very unfortunate person. The majority of the observers believed that. Sarutobi, however, was concerned. Few people have the chakra capacity to make the flower that large, and the Hyugas hadn't used that move in years. Only one other person had recently had access to the Hyuga scrolls. "Shit. Naruto." He bursts out. As he prepared to take off in that direction, a massive black dragon erupted above Konoha's north side and let out a thunderous roar. "Shit. What is going on? Quickly get over there everybody. Asuma, Kurenai, Kakashi, Anko, Ibiki. Come with me. I think Naruto is in a fight with Danzo." "What? No time. Come on, change of scene." When Sasuke saw it, he was about a mile away from Naruto, who was training alone. Above the trees, the flaming dandelion emerged. As he starts toward it, he exclaims, "What the hell?" Change of scene. The eyes of Hanabi and Hinata were wide and swollen. They were aware of that. A couple of years ago, their father had told them about it. Hanabi yells, "Come on Hinata," as she seizes her older sister's hand and quickly leaves with her. Change of scene. Neji's eyes were wide as well. This jutsu. That's where he takes off. Who was doing that move? He had to know. Change of scene. The person closest to Naruto was Suichi. When the enormous flower emerges from the earth, he remains silent. He simply raises an eyebrow and takes off in that direction, and his sitar was ready for combat. Change of scene. The scene of northern Konoha was illuminated by the dazzling glow of the dandelion's distant form. Hyuga gives Hayate a look. Hayate gives Hyuga a look. Both of them gaze at the enormous ink dragon before turning to face Sai. Then they disappear. Sai didn't have time to respond. As Hyuga slams her fist into the boy's stomach and sends him crashing into the wall, she asks, "Just who do you think you are, brat?" Hayate had jumped up and used his crescent moon dance to tear the dragon to pieces. Sai stands up unsteadily, smirks, and then starts writing. "Shit, where are you, coward?" "Above you," Hyuga says, jumping aside to dodge an ink tiger's claw slash. "Please brat, leave the fire. Dragon of fire." Sai has to abandon his perch or get incinerated along with it. As he soared through the air, Hayate appears and slams the butt of his katana into his temple, sending him back toward Hyuga, who had an almost devilish smirk on her face. Sigh of root Anbu, huh? You pass away. She slams her hands into the ground and yells, "Earth release." Earth javelin. A huge spike of earth shoots up out of the ground and flies toward Sai. He quickly replaces himself, but Hayate slashes his legs to stop him again. Sai lets out a painful grunt and falls to the ground, his mouth and calves gushing blood. Damn it. I need more training. Danzo is a fool to have sent someone of your level, Sai. What are you thinking? Hyuga glares. At that moment, the Konoha's other ninjas show up. Wait, Hyuga says. She comes up to Sai and uses a tiny fire jutsu to burn his ink and scrolls. You're helpless, Sai. Don't try anything. Sai's eyes were dead as he gazed up at her. Her eyes showed her a child who had lost everything that made him human, leaving only a shell of a person. A young man who lived only to fight and to serve as a faithful slave. He devoted himself mindlessly to Danzo and Danzo alone. Upon approaching, Inoichi Yamanaka inquires, Hyuga-san, who is this boy? He Danzo's student. Take him to the prison chambers, please, Hyuga says, casting a downward glance. It's like he's a machine, Inoichi remarks, glancing down at the boy. As the head of the Yamanaka clan picks the boy up and leaves, Hyuga nods. "What the hell is going on?" asks Hayate, glancing at Hyuga. "It's Naruto. I think he's in a fight with Root," Hyuga sighs. With wide eyes, Hayate snatches Hyuga's shoulder. He asks, "Where is he?" After noticing the dandelion, Hyuga exclaims, "The forest. Head for the flower." With a nod, Hayate and Hyuga disappear. Change of scene. A terrible conflagration of death. That's one way to characterize the Naruto scene. Flames engulfed his body, swirling violently around him and rising tall as the stem of a plant that connected to a burning flower. That attack had involved 15 of Danzo's Anbu. The others had just managed to escape the area. They had no idea what had hit them. Rain was all they could recall. From the depths of Hades itself, thousands, maybe millions, of tiny balls of flame poured down like a hailstorm from the top of the flaming dandelion. Nothing in the immediate vicinity made it out alive. Right now, everything was burning or on fire. To be honest, Naruto hadn't anticipated that. He stood there looking at the devastation caused by the dandelion's tears. A few roots were still barely alive and were fighting to avoid the fires that kept reviving. A minute later, he smirks and releases the jutsu. He now understood why these jutsus were no longer in use and why the Hyugas were considered Konoha's most powerful clan. They were strong and like a child drinking lemonade, they drained chakra. He was breathing heavily, but other than that, he was fine. He slashes the throat of another defenseless root, causing blood to spill everywhere. "Danzo, get out here and fight me," he says. The other 15 root Anbus that fall from the trees in front of him are his response. The one who says, "Uzumaki, you'll pay for that," smiling, Naruto makes a few more hand gestures. False freedom. Naruto's personal genjutsu is easily broken by the Anbu. Naruto frowns and pulls out his katana, saying, "Don't play with us, Uzumaki." The roots disappear after grinning behind their masks. Shia. Bam. After a vicious kick to the head, Naruto is punched in the middle of his back. Before slamming his katana into the ground, he briefly skids across the forest floor. Release the earth. Dragon bomb. Earth. Naruto widens his eyes and leaps to the side just as several fist-sized earth bullets whizzed past his head and tore through the trees behind him like paper towels. TCH, damn it, he mutters as he reaches down to his ankles. "I don't know how fast I am compared to your Danzo, but I'm not going to be laughed at tonight." He unclasps the weights on his ankles, then unclasps the weights on his wrists before tearing off his tattered cloak, revealing a bare chest and a bandage-wrapped torso along with a chain scythe, a small war hammer and a patch of senbon needles. He glares as Danzo's taunting voice rings throughout the area. "You wear orange? Very unworthy of a person of your rank. Are you really so conceited that you don't care who sees you?" Naruto smirks as he looks down at his loose, slightly frayed orange shorts. "Arrogance is just a tactic to get you killed, Danzo. And you will fail because of your conceit." Then he disappears. The leader pulled out his katana and stopped Naruto's sudden downward slash, but he was caught off guard when his other hand swung out and jammed a poisoned senbon into his neck, causing him to collapse in a seizure. Naruto smirks and ducks, narrowly avoiding a decapitating slash from a katana from behind, before leaping high into the air as 5 of the roots followed, much to Naruto's delight. "Danzo, I may not be more powerful than your lackeys, but I am definitely smarter." After that, he starts to rotate after channeling some chakra. Ninja art. Senbon storm. Naruto's entire body began to glow with seals as he spun, and before the 5 roots could question what the hell Naruto was doing, they are assaulted by a massive wave of senbon needles. The weapons flew from the seals on his body in all directions with deadly accuracy and force. 4 of the ninjas were killed while the last one somehow managed to block most of them and keep himself alive. As he and his dead teammates plummeted back to the ground, Naruto speaks again. "I knew this day would come, Danzo. I've made all the required arrangements." Up until Naruto's sword removed his head, the surviving root of Naruto's senbon storm couldn't help but feel his respect for Naruto growing. "I have many tricks up my sleeve," he murmurs, ingenious, just before he hits the ground with some force, and Naruto just gives the fallen man a quick glance before disappearing once more. Sparks could be seen emerging at random locations throughout the battlefield and metal clashes could be heard. Ack. Naruto's katana defeats another root, who had become arrogant and let his guard down. Danzo was grinning somewhere a little while away. "Wow, Naruto. San." The other root members then show up when he makes a wrist gesture. Each of the 60 of them was kneeling. "Just kill that Jinchuriki," he orders. The ninjas disappear after nodding. There remained 6 root Anbu. Naruto was standing in front of them, and they were breathing heavily. There were cuts and bruises all over his body. His katana was broken, and one eye was closed. He had blood streaming from his chest, arms, and mouth. With the hammer in one hand and the battle chain in the other, he remarks, looks like all those spars with Hyuga-san are actually paying off." The root Anbu had grown a little tired of Naruto. Although he wasn't as fast as they were, his quick reflexes, cunning, and clever use of body traps more than made up for it. A trap would be set off each time one of them struck Naruto in the proper location. A concealed seal would release senbon or any other type of poison-coated weapon, rendering the assailant helpless. His proficiency with other weapons was an added bonus. When an axe once exploded from a seal on his chest, he used it with ease to decapitate the man in front of him before it broke like glass. They were exhausted because they might die if they hit Naruto. Knowing that he couldn't defeat them in a straight-up sword fighting and jutsu wielding competition, this boy had come prepared. He was as skilled at tricks and deceit as the kitsune, for whom he was despised. He posed a legitimate threat. "Danzo, please show yourself," he commands. The weapon storing seals on his body were running low, and he was at the end of his rope. He needed to find Danzo and put an end to this. The 6 ahead of him re-establish their positions. They say, "You shall not harm Danzo Sama," and then they disappear once more. Without thinking, Naruto releases all of his remaining weapons and channels chakra into the seals on his body. Ninja artwork. Hailstorm of metal, from the seals on Naruto's body, shuriken, kunai, senbon needles, and hundreds of different daggers flew, tearing through the 6 Anbu who had foolishly rushed in to put an end to this battle. They would risk their lives for Danzo Sama even though they knew it was a stupid move. They did it that way. Their code. They had to keep this boy away from him. They realized that Naruto was after Danzo's life and would stop at nothing to achieve his objective after he summoned their leader for what must have been the 10th time. Danzo would undoubtedly be killed if he managed to reach him. They couldn't allow this to occur. They stopped him and stripped him of his weapons and seals, even at the expense of their lives. That was to ensure Naruto's trap wouldn't burden the incoming reinforcements. The remainder of root Anbu showed up as the 6 ninja were killed all around Naruto. They touched down in front of Naruto and looked out at the devastation in front of them, with the source of it all standing in the center. The smell of death was starting to permeate the air, and flames were still dancing everywhere. Naruto glares at the new arrivals. "Is your precious leader so worthy of having such a force throw away their lives for him?" asks he. "We of Root will do anything for Danzo Sama. One such as you who merely lives for himself could never hope to understand. You who has turned into a monster could never understand how we humans feel," declares the ninja at the front of the group. Naruto bites his thumb and lets out a sigh. "You may be right." He rubs his bleeding thumb over the seals on his right forearm, causing Yoshino, Oni Tenshi, and Fox Naruto to emerge in smoke clouds. "I who has felt nothing but hatred from you all could never understand. You who all have been coddled and loved by someone in your lives have a valid reason for judging me. You who have never had to life through the hatred of an entire ninja village have a perfectly valid reason for seeing me the way you do." Yoshino adopts a Jiyuken stance, Oni Tenshi extends the tentacles and draws the axe, and Fox Naruto draws its Zanbatsu. As he drops the battle chain and tightens his grip on the hammer without controlling his puppets, Naruto looks down, his hair covering his eyes. "You all don't have to deal with what I have to." With his chakra rising to high levels once more and the flames of hatred and resolve still blazing in his eyes, Naruto looks back up. "You don't know the obstacles I have had to overcome. The pain I went through that day 2 years ago. You don't know what it's like to realize that no one will ever be there to help you. To realize that you were chosen as a sacrifice by the Ondaime to seal a demon within merely to save a village that probably deserved the death the demon was administering upon it." There were several gasps up in the trees. As Naruto killed the final 6 Anbu, Hinata, Hanabi, Sasuke, Neji, and Suichi arrived and watched as the remaining Anbu revealed themselves. They just stood there motionless, not even looking at one another. Suichi made the initial realization that Naruto has a demon sealed in him. But that can't be true unless the Kyuubi no Kitsune was inside Naruto. The demon that was so widely discussed throughout Konoha. He lets out a gasp at this realization. Neji touches the seal on his forehead without realizing it. "I see," he says. He turns to face Hanabi and Hinata, who are both crying. All Sasuke could do was look at Naruto. According to what he claims, the Kyuubi was the demon that was sealed inside this blonde, murderous, and heartless boy. His admiration for Naruto grew significantly. The five-person group observes as the root members circle Naruto and get ready to attack. With the help of his 3 puppets, they watch as Naruto himself gets ready to charge into battle. Whispering, "We have to help him," Hinata says. The other 4 become aware of this. They see the fervor of resolve when they gaze into her eyes. Silently, Suichi opens his case and takes out his sitar. Yeah. Each preteen's inner fire of resolve gradually flares up one by one. As the root Anbu start to circle around him, obstructing any possibility of escape, Naruto smiles. But no worries. It's all in the past. I am not as angsty as I may sound right now. Around him, his puppets adopt defensive positions as he twitches his fingers. Should I be killed here tonight, know that you must have a bit of skill. He smiles a little wider, but should you all be killed, know you will serve a new master. The commander of the Anbu grumbles and responds, "We are not like the fodder you have just dispatched, Uzumaki. On top of that, you are weak and half dead already. You will die." Unexpectedly, Oni Tenshi lifts its shield to stop a volley of kunai. Naruto smiles. "You all have to do better than that, fools." The Anbu in charge grins. "Don't waste our time, Naruto. Join us. This is your final opportunity." "Why do you idiots want me to join your group so badly?" Naruto glares. "We don't want you to become one of our members. It is Danzo Sama's will. He thinks you have potential, boy. Additionally, you don't ignore Danzo when he thinks you deserve his attention. You will be severely punished or, in your case, killed if you do this." Before charging, Naruto glares and declares, "I have made my decision." TCH, very well then. The fight of his life had begun at that point. These Anbu were prepared and well coordinated, and they were easily adept at fighting in groups and against weapons like Naruto's puppets. On top of that, Naruto was already exhausted, so he leapt up and his puppets leapt off in different directions. It was either fight or die. Oni Tenshi raised its shield. Less arm, and a wave of senbon surged forth from the opening and into the wave, and one of the canisters burst open and shot a stream of fire. "Let it go, Uzumaki. I am aware of your weakness. You might be proficient in taijutsu when you weren't preoccupied with other issues, but now that you're using your puppets, you're doomed." Naruto is slashed in the leg, but it just makes him angry. The insulter's teammates warn him after he gets a glint in his eye. "Hey, look out." It was too late, though, as Naruto had already retrieved a pair of spiked brass knuckles from his bandages, slammed his fist into the man's throat, and watched with satisfaction as he fell. "I may be a puppeteer, but I've gotten over that weakness, fool. I am able to control my puppets and participate in a full taijutsu match. Don't undervalue me." "You're a jerk." He was overpowered and sent skidding across the forest floor toward Fox Naruto, whose movement had halted due to Naruto's sudden incapacitation, after 3 more Anbu converged upon him. Oni Tenshi also stopped, his tentacles impaled through the stomachs of 3 roots. Shit. Naruto swiftly returns his puppets to combat with their adversaries. Naruto felt discomfort. His fingers were growing tired, and the wounds he had sustained were healing much more slowly than usual. He still needed to keep going. He had no intention of losing to these idiots. He glances up at his opponent's glares and smirking faces. While the others were still attempting to remove his puppets, 10 faces were staring down at him. Act. Drop to Fox Naruto's sword is another. Another Anbu yells, "Immobilize Uzumaki's hands," just before Yoshino and a Jiyuken strike to the heart kill him as well. Naruto is surrounded by smirking ninjas, one of whom seizes his warhammer. "Let's see who good he is without his precious dolls," he says. Naruto rolls to the side to avoid having his hand smashed, but a vicious kick and a katana stab him in the thigh instead. He grunts in pain but does not scream. He was not weak. He would not give these bastards the satisfaction of seeing weakness. Blood was streaming out of his leg, but he kept his fingers moving. Oni Tenshi spreads its wing and unleashes a wave of blades disguised as feathers, quickly killing all 4 of the Anbu facing the puppet. Naruto makes a few hand gestures and exclaims, "Ninja art. Feather swarm," as the feathers of Oni Tenshi start to swirl violently around it. Slash at anyone who gets too close. Unfortunately for the 5 more roots who had chosen to charge Oni Tenshi. The satisfying sounds of flesh being cut apart and agonized screams resonating through the atmosphere make Naruto smirk. "Demon, you shouldn't get arrogant just because you've killed a few of us. A strong blow to the jaw is delivered to Naruto. You understand that after I beat you to within an inch of your pitiful existence, we're going to take you to Danzo Sama so he can deal the last blow himself? Crack. As Fox Naruto is pierced with 6 katanas, Naruto's eyes enlarge. The Anbu responds, "Hee, you're losing your control demon." Fox Naruto's tail split open once more, revealing 9 poisoned, tipped swords, and before the Anbu holding the swords in the puppet could react, they're stabbed and killed. Naruto glares and jerks his fingers a few more times. "Oh no. You have those hands." As his hands are stabbed with swords, the puppet's movements are effectively stopped, and the 3 weapons fall to the ground, vulnerable and motionless. Naruto realizes that these Konoha bastards are going to kill him, and he silently counts all of the root Anbu as they converge upon him once more. He nods in satisfaction as he counts 30 survivors, realizing that their victory was simply the result of sheer numbers and exhaustion. "Hey, Naruto-san, you're a real jerk, aren't you? Take a look at these bodies." As Danzo appears out of the shadows, Naruto's eyes enlarge slightly. He approaches Naruto and smiles from behind his bandages, saying, "You put up quite a fight, but it looks like it ends here. What a shame. You are the ideal root candidate." "Fuck you, old man," Naruto snarls, his voice devoid of any hint of pain or rage. Danzo glares and lifts his cane, revealing a sharp blade that sticks out from the bottom and gleams uncannily in the light from the nearby fires. "Now Uzumaki, time to die. Leave the fire." Grand fireball. A massive fireball rained down from the sky, forcing the root forces to jump away. 5 figures leap from the trees, and Danzo glares. "What is the meaning of this? We won't allow you to harm him," a soft female voice says. A younger female voice responds, "That's right. You old man will pay for what you are doing." The 5 figures glare at Danzo as they emerge from their crouched positions. Danzo grins after widening his eyes. Well. 3 Hyuga children, the last Uchiha and the Sitar. Using orphan. How touching. Sasuke draws a kunai and glares. "Hinata, give him a couple of soldier pills," Hanabi says. Hinata squats next to Naruto and nods. Who observes in bewilderment. "What are you doing? We're saving your ass, Blondie. No one should have to put up with the shit you're going through without friends," Suichi says, turning to face Naruto. Naruto laughs. "I have no need for friends. Acquaintances, whatever. The point is we're here to help. Incapacitate them but do not kill them," Danzo smirks. "Hi Danzo. Sama." Before Naruto can protest, Hinata shoves 3 soldier pills down his throat and he and the others charge into combat. Naruto observes as Neji throws the 6 Anbu encircling him with a flawless kaden. He sees Suichi slice 3 of his opponents as he swings his sitar around using a handle attached to the weapon's end. He sees even Hinata eliminate a few individuals. He lets out a sigh. "Those fools are lucky Danzo doesn't want them dead," he said, sensing some of his chakra returning and his hands healing. Danzo's head would be his if he waited a little while longer. Hanabi exclaims, "Hinata duck," as a kunai flies at her sister from behind. Suichi throws his own kunai after blocking the attack. As he Jayukens another man in the knee and drops him, Neji orders, "Stay together as a group." The 5 preteens surrounded Naruto with protection, fending off any assaults. Sadly, there were simply too many of them. While defending herself from a left hand attack, Hanabi was stabbed in the shoulder, and Sasuke suffered a severe kick that broke 5 of his ribs. Hinata was struck by a slow acting poison. Suichi was stabbed in the stomach with a katana, and Neji was struck by mild exploding notes that caused temporary blindness in his right eye. Hinata lets out a gasp. The man had said, "Heh, some no-name demon-loving orphan. No one will miss you," just before Hanabi had Jayukened her in the back. "Why, you bastard!" Suichi exclaims as she coughs up blood. He sets up his sitar as though he were going to play it, and he does. "I am the second remaining member of my clan. You know what we specialized in?" Nobody responds. Then he starts playing a song. "We specialized in summons via musical instruments," he says. It was a menacing melody, full of grief and rage. "Taste my music." A moment later, a massive white wolf appears from Suichi's sitar and attacks every enemy in its path with blades and teeth, but that's not all. It consumed the chakra of those it struck. Suichi ignores his open wound and the sword that is still impaled in him as he plays his song. His eyes were blazing with fire. He yells, "You won't kill this guy. I won't let you." To avoid Suichi's wolf, the Anbu were jumping everywhere. Flames had flared up in the others' eyes as well, and they too started attacking more forcefully. Sasuke, Hanabi, and Neji charged at a speed that was inappropriate for someone of their level and used their hands and kunai to stab and slit. Danzo's eyes were wide with staring. Just where did these children come from? There is no way they're that powerful. He observes as Sasuke drives a kunai into one of his subordinates' skulls in spite of having broken ribs. It's not possible. These kids Hanabi jumps into a group of 10 and seizes a stray katana. Kaden! She exclaims as she spins wildly, extending the sword and intensifying the destructiveness of her attack. Danzo frowns as he observes that a group of kids are outnumbering him in the battle. Kids who wanted to give their lives to keep this demon safe. He yells, "Kill them! Kill them all!" Suddenly, the tide had changed. The intent to kill was released. 25 root Anbu remained, but that was all that was required. They rush ahead. Cry of the splitting daisy, water release. Nobody knew when Naruto had regained his strength because they were all too busy attacking the others. However, the moment he called out the jutsu, everyone noticed him once more. "Come on down!" Neji shouts to Naruto, who slams his hands to the ground and releases the remaining chakra. "I'm not going to lose. Danzo!" He screams as the air above him condenses and transforms into a glowing blue water daisy. Naruto jumps up and uses his right hand to karate chop the flower. It explodes into needle-shaped water droplets that shower down on everything around them. The remaining forces of Danzo's root were attacked. Some of them were grazed or hit in non-essential areas, but the area was still frozen over. Neji, Hinata, and Hanabi watched in wonder as the water successfully eliminated half of the enemies in front of them, leaving them only to stare while Naruto collapses to his knees, panting heavily. Before he faints, he says, "Take Korea of the resta," but they were unable to do so because they were also exhausted and hurt. Suichi was already unconscious when the other 20 root Anbu ninja charged forward once more without encountering any opposition. Suichi was slashed deeply across his lower back, effectively paralyzing him. Sasuke was kicked in the temple and knocked out. Hinata and Hanabi had already fainted from poisoning, and Neji was stabbed in the stomach, causing him to scream in agony before he passed out. The area was in ruins. More than 80 ninjas had been slain this evening, and 80 root members had been killed by kids. With hatred blazing in his eyes, Danzo walks up to an unconscious Naruto and says, "Look what you did. Monster. I almost got ruined by you. I'll murder you." Danzo lifts his cane, but all of a sudden he gasps because a sword exploded from his chest, where his heart was. Danzo, not today. When Danzo turns around and gasps after coughing up blood, he sees Sarutobi, Ibiki, Kakashi, Asuma, Anko, Kurenai, Hyuga, and Hayate standing there. Why Hyuga? When his life leaves him, he never completes his sentence. Hyuga pulls her katana from Danzo's back and sees him fall to the ground, dead. Sarutobi glares at the other Anbu of root and disappears. None of them had a chance. The root members scream in agony and blood erupts from their necks as he returns to his previous location. Sarutobi surveys the battlefield in wonder. "Absolutely unbelievable," Anko exclaims. "Naruto!" Hyuga screams as she runs to be by his side. Suichi, Sasuke, and the 3 Hyugas follow suit, and their eyes enlarge upon seeing them. Danzo's corpse is viewed with disdain by Sarutobi. "Attacking children and going behind my back. Danzo, what the hell were you thinking?" He walks up to the group of children who have been killed and gives them a proud look. "We need to get them to the hospital. They're all severely injured or suffering from chakra exhaustion," says Kurenai. Sarutobi gives a nod. "Okay, get them to the hospital now. We will clean up this mess later." Everyone says, "Hi," and leaps back toward Konoha while grabbing a genin. Hyuga and Sarutobi remained. She held Naruto in her arms. After performing a few water jutsus to extinguish the fires, Sarutobi performs the shadow clone. Every clone seizes Suichi's sitar and a puppet. "Danzo, it looks like the light of the flame within this boy has withered your roots. I hope you think about that in the afterlife." After that, he directs attention back to Konoha. Hyuga had lingered a little longer. She murmurs, "Naruto, you worried me," as he gives her a tighter hug. "Don't ever do that again, please." Naruto mumbles 2 words as his eyes slightly open. "Hyuga-chan." Everyone in Konoha heard, "Danzo is what?" The following morning, the word had gotten out so fast that nobody could stop it. Everyone in Konoha was now aware that the majority of root Anbu had been destroyed by Naruto and 5 other genin before Sarutobi dealt with the remaining portion. The council was not pleased. No, they were simultaneously terrified and indignant. Furthermore, the fact that their Hokage supported Naruto didn't help either. On that day, it was possible to see the clan heads of the Yamanaka, Akamichi, Nara, and Inuzuka grinning. Hokage. Sama, are you serious? They're all dead? Sarutobi nodded his head and replied, actually no, a few did manage to survive. It was a spectacular battle. Naruto had outsmarted most of them with traps placed on his own body before using his puppets and 2 flower-style techniques. And that was before the 5 others came to his assistance. Heishi had risen at this point. Hokage. Sama, do you seriously think I would believe that not one, but both of my daughters and my nephew ran off to assist this boy? Sarutobi grinned and nodded. If you do not believe me, you can visit them at the hospital and question them yourself. They should be awake now, as the medics did an excellent job at healing them. Hiyashi sighed deeply and sat back down. Hokage. Sama, I do not understand. They don't even know that boy. Why would they help him? Sarutobi laughed as he said, perhaps it was the skill he showed that day he fought you. Maybe they took his words to heart and decided to follow their own paths. Paths of their choosing. The statement, so you're saying the demon is corrupting others with his malicious intent, was made by a member of the civilian council. No, I'm saying we should look into my crystal ball and you all will see what I mean. Then Sarutobi pointed to his desk, where the gleaming sphere was sitting, currently unutilized. Change of scene. Hyuga seized Naruto in an embrace as soon as he opened his eyes. Naruto. I'm glad you're okay. With a nod, Naruto pushed the woman away from him. In his life, this practice became nearly commonplace. He slid out of bed and stood up, stretching, saying to himself, so we won, huh? Although he had called her Hyuga-chan the previous evening, he needed more time, so she smiled and stood up to her full height, which was a foot above Naruto's head, and watched as he found his puppets and sealed them back into his arm before finding his shorts and putting them back on. She couldn't help but stare at the boy as he started to wander around the room gathering his personal belongings, wanting to get close to him and become someone special to him. Whatever became of those idiots? That abrupt question had shattered Hyuga's thoughts. What was he talking about? What idiots? Hold on. Are you referring to the other 5? Naruto gave a nod. They're all right. 3 doors down and to the right, they're all in the spacious room. Where are you going, Naruto? Wait. Before Hyuga could finish her sentence, Naruto turned and left the room. She recovered quickly and followed him as he went toward the door she had described moments before. Naruto entered the room without saying anything and looked around. A second later, Hyuga entered and put a hand on his shoulder. All 5 of them were there, and they were all staring at him. The first to react was Hinata, who eked and hid behind her blankets, eyeing Naruto anxiously while Hanabi stared at him with a look of wonder and reflection. Neji nodded toward him before turning back to face the window, and Sasuke watched with a look of respect in his face. Hold on, one was still missing. Hey, you're awake at last, huh? It took far too long. As the reddish-pink haired boy rolled into the room in a wheelchair, Naruto felt his eyes widen slightly. Like Neji and Sasuke, his upper body was bare and wrapped in bandages. He still wore his shorts, but that was it. Naruto stared for a few more seconds before his understanding of the human body kicked in. Naruto turned to his right and saw Shuichi, who was smiling and holding his sitar in his lap, indicating that he had been playing it just a moment earlier. A katana slash across the back left me paralyzed from the waist down. Before it started, your ninja career was over. Shuichi simply smiled a little wider. Yeah, it's awful, isn't it? All for the sake of saving your doll's ass? All you fools did was nearly get yourselves killed. Yeah, whatever. All of you are a bunch of fools, Naruto sighs. How on earth did you think you could defeat an ANBU, much less a sizable contingent? Sasuke intervened at this point, saying, Oi Baka, in case you hadn't noticed, you were about to get filleted when we showed up. I didn't ask you for assistance, and I never will. We realize that, Naruto, replied Hanabi, but that doesn't change the fact that you have help from us whenever things get too rough for you. Naruto grumbles. If you guys were any older, I'd kill you for being hypocrites. But we're not hypocrites now, are we? Neji grins. We cannot be hypocritical when we choose not to despise you for your beliefs because we are not members of the generation that was targeted by the Kyuubi. With wide eyes, Naruto said, Who told you? They could tell by the expression on his face that he was serious. Tell me now or you'll regret it. Geez, calm down, Shuichi said with a sigh. No one informed us. We were present when you began talking to that elderly man about your life. We overheard you admit to the man that you were harboring the demon Kyuubi. It explains a lot, I must say. Sasuke and Hanabi appeared to notice this and came up to Naruto, who had only slightly relaxed and was ready to strike should any of them start saying the wrong things, while the other four nodded and Hyuga's hand tightened slightly on his shoulder. When they were sufficiently close, Hanabi put her little arms around his waist and hugged him while Sasuke extended his hand. "We will never see you as the Kyuubi, even if you still don't like us, even if you feel compelled to kill everyone in the village for some reason. We all understand that your emotions are valid," Sasuke remarked. "You're correct, Naruto-san. Even though we don't fully comprehend everything that is happening, we are open to learning. Regardless of who they are, everyone needs allies. Naruto, we're ready to join your cause." Next to arrive were Neji and Hinata. "That's correct, Uzumaki. You have gained my loyalty and respect." Mine too," Hinata uttered. Naruto closed his eyes and opened them again a second later when he felt a pair of lips on his own, but he was at a loss for words. These idiots were willing to be his allies. People who would fight with him instead of the dumbass villagers? The words, "You have my allegiance as well, Naruto-kun," were spoken by Hyuga. Change of scene. The Uchiha heir, the youngest main house prodigy, the Hyuga branch prodigy, and the heiress had just sworn allegiance to the demon brat, and to top it all off, one of Konoha's top Anbu had apparently developed feelings for him. Heishi and the council watched the scene with wide eyes. "Now that I know what some of you are thinking, I warn you right now because my position regarding Naruto has not changed," said Sarutobi, clearing his throat. "You all need to stop and think about what you are all doing before you begin to actively hunt the boy. We're losing shinobi to him and I will not allow that. Konoha is losing power because of the ignorance of the village. Hokage-sama, you must understand that what we of the council do regarding that boy is merely for the well-being of the entire village. He is corrupting others already and needs to be taken care of." Sarutobi turned back to the crystal ball and scowled, saying, "Make a move on him and I'll allow him to kill you myself. Naruto deserves to have friends and happiness. You all have no right to try and rob him of that. What that demon deserves to be is eliminated." Sarutobi, open your eyes. At last, the Hokage had enough and declared his intention to kill. "Silence, the Hokage has spoken. This meeting is adjourned. Owen Heishi-san, perhaps you should think about your position on this whole affair. After all, the three most promising Hyuga have just allied with Naruto. Will you help them or will you lament in your hatred and lose the three closest to you?" Sarutobi then left, making his way to the hospital. Change of scene. Neji saw Hanabi's face flash with a hint of jealousy as her eyes widened. It was there for a brief moment, but Neji noticed it. For the time being, he chose to ignore it. Hyuga was gently pushed away from Naruto, saying, "You are all too close." Suichi made the decision to speak. "Yo, a bombshell beauty kisses you and you push her away. What the hell is wrong with you, man?" Naruto laughs. "I have no desire for an intimate relationship with anyone." Suichi wheeled over to Naruto and raised his sitar in his direction, sighing, "You really have been sheltered. Oh well. I'm paralyzed. That means that I can no longer use this as an effective weapon. Well, maybe I could still use it, but I'm in a wheelchair so I won't be going anywhere." After pressing the weapon instrument into Naruto's chest, he said, "I want you to learn how to play this. Once you do, come to me again and I'll teach you how to summon the wolf spirit locked within it." Naruto's gaze expanded. "You're giving me your weapon?" "Peeved, I see no reason why not. After all, I'm an ally too, but since I can no longer fight, I'm entrusting you with this instead." After taking a look at the sitar and letting out what felt like 1,000 sighs, Naruto strapped the instrument to his back. He was not accustomed to receiving presents. Suichi laughed and continued, "Oh, and if you ever meet a foul-mouthed girl with the same hair color as mine, drag her ass to me so I can blacken one of her eyes. Knock her out if you have to." Hyuga, Sasuke, and Neji all laughed at this, but Naruto just nodded. "If you want, I can help you with the Jiyuken. I'm sure you haven't perfected Yoshino yet, am I correct?" Hanabi said, releasing Naruto. Naruto remained silent. He just looked up thoughtfully and nodded. Hanabi gave a small smile. "I'm sure Neji-san and Hinata-ni are willing to help you as well. All three of us use a different variation of the Jiyuken and I want to see what they all look like when combined into one single fighter. Your puppet, for instance." Naruto observed everyone's eyes and detected no signs of dishonesty or animosity. After a while he finally replies, "Fine, and in exchange I will teach you the forbidden flower jutsus I stole from the Hyuga clan. After all, they're your techniques, and if you are so adamant on helping me, then I might as well help my allies as well." Naruto snatched Neji's hand in a handshake as the group smiled slightly. At that moment, the door opened and Sarutobi entered. When he first walked into the room, He had a sincere smile on his face, which seemed to widen when he saw Naruto shaking hands with everyone. He said, "Ah, Naruto, you are awake," with a hint of joy. Naruto smiled slightly as he turned to face the Hokage. Hokage. Gigi. When the other kids found out that Naruto was close to the Hokage, they were a little taken aback, but they chose to keep quiet. After giving Naruto a shoulder pat, Sarutobi turned to face the other people in the room. "First off, I would like to personally congratulate all of you in completing an A-class mission. I don't know how you pulled it off, but you did, and I am glad to call you all ninja of Konoha." Shuichi, Sasuke, Neji, and Hinata all felt a little more proud, but Hanabi didn't seem to be sure. She cast a nervous glance down. When Sarutobi saw this, he grinned. "Do not worry, Hyuga. Chan, you are included in this praise." Startled, Hanabi looked up. "I know you are young, but already you have the strength of a strong ninja. I should probably promote you all to Chunin and Naruto to Junin right now, but the council is already on edge about Naruto's strength, and promoting you all would throw off the graduating teams." "Well, I'm in a wheelchair anyway, so won't the teams still be uneven?" Shuichi asked with a laugh. "Not if I add Hanabi-chan to the ranks," said Sarutobi with a smile. With wide, shocked eyes, Hanabi looked up at the Hokage and gasped. 3 Konoha headbands were extracted from Sarutobi's robes, and he threw one to each of Sasuke, Hinata, and Hanabi. Since Shuichi was now unable to fight, Neji already had one because he had graduated earlier. "Congratulations on becoming ninja," he laughed. Next, he turned to Naruto and produced a specially designed headband. The fabric was long and orange. The 2 ends of the cloth hung down to Naruto's mid-back, and he smiled as he walked up to him and tied it securely around his head. In comparison to other forehead protectors, the metal plate was very different. The leaf symbol was still present, but it was much smaller and located in the center of a fox's forehead. The kanji for "special op" was engraved in tiny letters at the bottom of the plate, and 3 lines that matched Naruto's whisker marks were placed on either side of the forehead. "Naruto, you are now a personal ninja of the Hokage himself. You answer to me and me alone and are eligible for high-ranked missions." There were many gasps at this. "You have the authority of a Chunin and the protection of the Hokage and several clan heads. Which ones I'll leave to you to find out. This is an old tradition that hasn't been used since the 3 Sannin were elected, in which the Hokage will choose 1 or more potential ninja and form a special group, kind of like the Mist Swordsmen. They're called the Konoha Special Ops, and Naruto, you have been chosen as the first member." With a smile, Sarutobi made his way back to the door. After saying, "Oh, and the bodies of the root are still in the forest. Have a nice day," he left. Sasuke and Neji gaped at Naruto, Hanabi gaped at her headband, and Shuichi looked a little envious and complained about fortunate non-paralyzed people. After another moment of staring at the door, Naruto's lips formed a tiny smile. He told himself, just the way it should be, Hokage. Gigi, so that no one else could hear. "Naruto." Hyuga exclaims as he lifts him into the air and squeezes him. "Congratulations, Naruto. Personal ninja to the Hokage himself. That's one hell of an honor." With his face pressed against the purple-haired woman's chest, Naruto was only able to nod slightly. "Yes, indeed. Now would you mind putting me down?" After blushing and complying with his request, Hyuga was surrounded by people who felt compelled to congratulate him in some way. Shuichi slapped him on the shoulder, Neji shook his hand, and Sasuke nodded curtly. Out of reflex, he almost got a senbon stuck in his neck. Hinata quietly said, "Congratulations, Naruto-kun," before ducking slightly behind Neji as Hanabi grinned and gave him a brief embrace. "Hey." After a few minutes, Shuichi proposed that everyone go out and celebrate, but it was immediately rejected. Naruto only had to say no to make his point. Shuichi was about to respond, but Hyuga's slight headshake cut him off, and Naruto turned to face the door while adjusting the sitar on his back. He said impassively, "All of you have my gratitude," then opened the door and walked out. "Geez, it seems like he is aloof toward everyone." Hyuga nodded and replied, "Yes, he just that way," in response to Shuichi's question. "Serves the village right, in my opinion," Neji replied. "It's their own actions that caused this." Yeah. Change of scene. As Naruto made his way through Konoha, heading toward the gate, he took notice of the looks of fear and hate. He ignored them for now. He had one destination, and nothing was going to stop him from getting to that destination as soon as possible, so stopping to rip the throat out of that fool who just sneered and called him a demon's freak would have to wait. Villagers shied as far away as possible from him, no doubt fearing what he was capable of, since word of his fight with Root had spread all over. Even the two Chunin at the gate said nothing as he exited the village and headed toward the clearing where last night's battle took place. He walked for an hour until he arrived at the spot. It was a war zone. Scorch marks weapons, broken trees, craters, and even some wood chippings from his puppets. He looked around at the carnage. Bodies, blood, innards and limbs were everywhere. It looked like the set of a corny horror movie. He looked around for a specific corpse and grinned when he spotted it. Danzo's body lay there in near perfect condition with a stab wound where his heart was. He walked over to the body and said, "I told you, and you would die for threatening my life." He then hoisted the body up onto his shoulder and walked over to a reasonably clear area and placed the body down on its back. Then, looking around, he said, "Now then," making a cross with his hands and saying, "Ninja art, Kage Bunshin." Naruto had never used this jutsu before, but his excellent chakra control and knowledge of the jutsu's rank of forbidden gave him all the pieces he needed to successfully create 30 copies of himself. He nodded in satisfaction when the clones appeared in puffs of smoke and awaited orders. Now, the only knowledge Naruto had about this jutsu was that it created solid copies of yourself when executed. All right, then. It is your responsibility to look through these bodies and find the ones in the best shape. He pointed to Danzo's corpse and said, "Bring them to me and arrange them in a neat row on either side of this one." The clones nodded and bounded off in different directions, and he performed the shadow clone once more while placing his hand in the cross symbol. 5 clones materialized. "You 5 head back to my apartment and bring me my supplies." A tiny set of puppet making tools materialized in a puff, and Naruto knelt down to Danzo and unraveled a scroll while rubbing blood on it as the clones nodded and ran off toward Konoha. "All right, Danzo, let's transform your aging and damaged body into something you can be proud of." Change of scene. Together, Neji, Sasuke, Hinata, Shuichi, Hanabi, and Hyuga were strolling through Konoha, talking about a subject that piqued their interest. Naruto. With little knowledge of Naruto's primary ninja art, a mortified Hinata asks, "Is he really going to do that?" Hyuga gave a nod. "Indeed, those are all the steps required to create a human puppet." But how does he handle the organs and other things?" "Beats me," Hyuga said, shaking her head. "After taking that step, I didn't really stay around." "Is that legal at all? To dismember bodies like that?" "I mean, I know he made people into his puppets, but I didn't know you needed to do all of that," inquired an enthralled Hanabi. Hyuga nodded. "In Suna the practice is highly illegal, but this is Konoha and Hokage. Sama lets Naruto do pretty much whatever he wants, so I'm guessing it's legal only for Naruto." As they moved through the village, the group ignored the shocked looks they were receiving from the locals and carried on talking about Naruto. "Man, I'm just glad to finally be an official ninja," Sasuke replied. Yes. They didn't notice Hyuga's warm smile as they spoke about their new comrade, but they were abruptly interrupted when multiple Hyugas landed in front of them. "And I will further my training and become a member of that special ops with Naruto." "San," Hanabi said, and the others nodded with faint smiles as Shuichi loudly encouraged them. Neji. "San Hinata. Sama Hanabi. Sama Heishi. Sama wishes to speak with you immediately." Shuichi looked up at Hyuga and Sasuke and said, "Well, I'll be seeing you guys later." Hanabi sighed. "Fine then, come on Hinata," she said. The 3 Hyugas then departed with the group. "I need to go and make my place wheelchair accessible." Hyuga grinned as Sasuke nodded, and after he left, Hyuga sighed and remarked, "I'm sorry for him. To lose his legs in such a manner." "Yes, it's unfortunate, but like him, we can't dwell on it too much," Sasuke said, nodding. Hyuga grinned. This coming from a guy who thinks of killing his brother every waking moment of his life. After frowning, Sasuke declared, "I'm going to see what Naruto actually does to create his puppets." As Sasuke walked away and disappeared toward the Hokage tower, Hyuga laughed. Change of scene. Sasuke entered the clearing as Naruto was finishing up Danzo's internal organs. He remarked, "Oi, that is seriously messed up." With a shrug, Naruto spoke. "All is necessary if I'm to have my tools." With a shrug, Sasuke went to him. He jumped up into a tree to get a better look at what Naruto was doing, trying his best to ignore the strong odors of embalming fluid and rot. About 30 clones entered the clearing 10 minutes later, each carrying a corpse. Sasuke's eyes widened slightly as he pondered when Naruto had acquired this move. He observed as the clones arranged themselves in a tidy line, placing their bodies next to Danzo's. Until a final clone entered the clearing with a body that Sasuke immediately recognized as that of their academy teacher Mizuki. Naruto appeared to ignore the others. "Boss," the clone said, placing the already Hollowed dot out and split. Open body at the end of the line. I discovered this body as well. It was obvious that you had started working on this one too, so I brought it back. Naruto noticed the body after looking up. He was shocked that a clone had actually brought the corpse back because he had completely forgotten about Mizuki during the battle with Root. Naruto commanded, "Bring him to me." With a nod, the clone lifted Mizuki onto his shoulder and approached his creator. Naruto started examining the body to determine the extent of the damage after it was placed down once more. With the exception of a few spots of scorch, it was exactly as he left it. According to the clone, there's also something else. Sasuke and Naruto both raised an eyebrow. Mizuki's neck was indicated by the clone, who said, "I sensed a powerful chakra coming from there." Intrigued, Naruto looked at the spot his clone had pointed to and chose to direct some chakra there. He was shocked by what transpired next. Unusual black markings spread across Mizuki's body as a seal appeared and started to enlarge. As the seal spread farther, Naruto sensed the chakra growing stronger. His words, "Well, this is interesting," came as he directed additional chakra into the seal. Incredulously, he watched as the seal expanded even more, engulfed Mizuki in a purple light, and started to physically change his body. Sasuke was in awe. What on earth was going on? The seal that Naruto had found was what? He and Naruto observed as Mizuki's body changed into a formidable-looking tiger with black stripes and yellow fur. The battle would have been more difficult if Mizuki had been alive and had used this power against Naruto. Well, whatever. As the transformation came to an end and Mizuki started to turn back, Naruto smiled. He bit his finger and started drawing more seals on Mizuki's other seal and focus chakra, saying, Wait a minute there. Sealing art. Fusion. This jutsu was a technique that Hyuga had shown him a while back. It was originally designed as a medical seal to help with the reattachment of severed limbs and such. He had learned this jutsu as a simple way to help in the eventual repairs of his puppets, but he also began to experiment with it. Now really knowing what he was going to use it for. But now it seemed he found a use for this altered version. Mizuki's body began to glow again with the purple chakra and its own natural reaming reserves for a whole minute as the two chakras began to blend together and with Mizuki's corpse. Naruto watched with a satisfied smirk as the tiger marking seemingly exploded off of Mizuki and faded away. He watched as the seal seemed to get absorbed by the body and change it. A pair of tiger ears appeared on top of Mizuki's head. A tail spurted from behind. Mizuki's hands became claws and so did feet. His eyes turned cat-like and his canines grew into fangs. The skin on his forearms, back and legs also gained a light layer of tiger-striped fur. Once it was over, Mizuki looked like a normal man except for these new features that had come from fusing with the seal. "There, Mizuki," Naruto remarked, "this will make you a much more effective puppet," as Mizuki ceased to whirl with chakra. It was true, Naruto had fused him with that seal on his neck, and Sasuke jumped down with open mouth, bending over the new Mizuki. "You can ask Hyuga where I found out about that seal." Sasuke was only able to nod. "She taught me the original version, and I made a different version from it." Naruto looked at his clones and remarked, "You all know what I know, don't you?" They nodded. "That's good because I don't want to spend the next week outside. Make a puppet out of a chosen body." Naruto turned to face Danzo and Mizuki after the clones nodded. "I have something special planned for you too," he said. Skipping time. When Naruto and Sasuke returned to Konoha at 5 in the morning, it was eerily silent and a little ominous. Sasuke was a little pale, and Naruto was always grinning and wearing a brand new seal that read, Konoha Root. The Uchiha said, "Oi Naruto," after a minute, and Naruto gave Sasuke a sidelong glance and a small nod to indicate that he was paying attention. Where did the puppet technique come from? Since no one had ever asked him that before, Naruto decided to make fun of the Uchiha by raising an eyebrow and saying, "I learned it in Suna when I went with Hokage. Gigi when I was 4. I discovered the former training grounds of a master puppeteer and gained knowledge there." "You just read scrolls to learn everything you know?" "It wasn't so hard," Naruto said, nodding. "You learn to take care of yourself when you live like I do." Sasuke gave a nod of agreement. "Anyway, I'm tired and still have to fix Fox Naruto. I will see you some other time, Uchiha-san. Congratulations on lasting as long as you did while watching me create my puppets. Not even Hyuga could stand it after a certain point." Sasuke smiled a little. "Oh, and when you kill your brother, give his body to me. He has certain abilities that I find intriguing." "You mean Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu?" Naruto gave a nod. "I could become more devastating with that kind of puppet under my control." Sasuke raised his eyebrows and replied, "Fine, but you have to give me something in return. When you show me the Uchiha's corpse, we'll talk about the terms." After Sasuke gave a nod, the two walked away. Sasuke thought, all the more reason to kill my brother as soon as possible. Without a word, Naruto entered his compound and went to his room. He was exhausted and needed to sleep, so he opened his door, threw away his weapons and a big storage scroll, then collapsed onto his bed and closed his eyes. What a day, he thought as he pictured Hyuga, his special operations forehead protector, Mizuki, and the other 5 kids. I have to fix Fox Naruto as well. Change of scene. Hiyoshi's message unnerved Hinata, Hanabi, and Neji, who sat in their rooms wide awake, unable to shake the thoughts of what he had told them. Hanabi, Neji, and Hinata. By hanging around with that monster, you 3 are betraying the Hyuga clan's reputation for nobility and legitimacy. However, new information has surfaced, and I now have a slightly different opinion of that boy. While the council and the rest of the clan still view him as the Kyuubi, Ino no longer does. I am going to warn you. You no longer have the Hyuga clan's support. The council has essentially severed all of its connections with the 3 of you. From now on, you must train, learn, and develop yourself. Goodbye. Though she wanted to cry, Hinata resolutely told herself that she would become stronger and more powerful than any other Hyuga, which was what she sorely desired. Neji pondered. Expelled from the clan? All connections cut off? They even took off the seal on his forehead and told him he wasn't even valuable as a servant. The words had caused him great pain, but they had also freed him. He was no longer a servant, and the fear of death no longer hovered over his head. Hanabi was furious. She had never felt so wronged in her life. The idiots were blind. In any case, she was leaving the clan tomorrow. She wasn't staying here, as if she had any choice. How dare they treat her this way just because she helped someone who obviously deserved it? She reached a decision almost simultaneously with Hinata and Neji. Naruto. Hishi, meanwhile, sat in his office looking dejected and said, "I apologize. It was either death or exile. Neji, Hinata, and Hanabi, please pardon me." Change of scene. The sensation of a set of lips on Naruto's cheek roused him. "Hyuga, this has to stop," Hyuga said. "I was just congratulating you on becoming Hokage." Sama's personal ninja, grinning and getting back up. "What's causing your late arrival? My stuff is still here, Soa," Hyuga shrugged. "I understand. You made use of it as justification to be close to me." Hyuga reddened. "Hyuga, I am well aware of your feelings for me, but I don't understand them. I'll repeat this to you. Give up this pointless effort to elicit an emotional response from me. It's not useful. In addition, I am 12 years old. What are you, 25? Angry, Hyuga exclaimed, "I'm 19. Do you think I appear to be an elderly woman?" "Older than 19, was Naruto's straightforward response. "Well, I never did, Naruto. Get ready because I'm going to make you smile. I'll make you express your suppressed feelings, and guess what? Every time, I'm going to snap a photo." Then she bounded into her room and out of the room. Hyuga was something else, and Naruto couldn't help but snicker as he fell asleep, thinking about how his ninja career was finally starting and all the puppets he would make in the future, whether it was by killing enemy nin or by coming up with his own ideas. Hyuga sighed and collapsed onto her bed. 25. That was almost 30. Did she really look that old, or was Naruto-kun toying with her? No, he was definitely serious. She glared at the ceiling. She was going to do everything in her power to get Naruto to show emotion, so maybe she should make him blush. That was ideal. She laughed evilly to herself and fell asleep. Just you wait, Naruto-kun.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.